Blood dripped from Damien Ashcroft's knuckles onto white marble the night everything collapsed. At 32, he ruled Blackthorn City's underworld without mercy, until Celine Vale walked into his world carrying nothing but stubborn innocence and a literature degree. 3 months later, rival syndicates put a price on her head. Now Damien stood in his penthouse, surrounded by bodies, watching armed men storm toward the woman he swore he'd never let himself love. One choice remained: unleash absolute hell or watch her die. He chose violence. What happened next would drown the city in blood for weeks. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far this story travels. Hit that like button and let's begin. Boo. Rain slashed sideways across Blackthorn City like God himself was trying to wash away everything rotten underneath. Didn't work. Never did. The rot went too deep, buried in foundations older than most people's grandparents, fed by money that moved through shadows and hands that never got dirty where anyone could see. Celine Vale stood outside the Ashcroft estate gates, gripping her umbrella hard enough to hurt. Rain hammering the fabric above her head, wind trying to rip the whole thing away. 23 years old, and she already knew she didn't belong here. Not among these people. Not in this world of polished steel and dangerous money. You coming, or you going to stand there drowning? Maya Chen appeared beside her, elegant in a silver dress that probably cost more than Celine's monthly rent, not a drop of rain touching her beneath the estate's covered walkway. The engagement party started 20 minutes ago. I'm thinking about going home. Like hell you are. Maya grabbed her wrist. You promised. One night. Smile, eat expensive food, pretend you're impressed by rich assholes. Then we'll get drunk on their champagne and laugh about it tomorrow. Celine let herself be pulled forward because arguing with Maya never worked. They'd been best friends since college, back when Maya dated struggling artists and talked about changing the world through documentary filmmaking. Now she was engaged to Marcus Chen, whose family owned half the commercial real estate downtown, and probably some things less legal nobody talked about. The Ashcroft estate rose ahead like something carved from old money and older secrets. 3 stories of stone and glass and architecture that screamed power without saying a word. Security cameras tracked their movement. Men in dark suits stood positioned near every entrance, rain streaming off their shoulders, eyes scanning everything. This feels like a mob movie, Celine muttered. Because it is. Maya's voice dropped. Marcus's family does business with the Ashcrofts. Don't ask me what kind. I stopped asking questions 3 months ago when I realized I didn't want to know the answers. That doesn't bother you? Everything bothers me. I just decided I love Marcus more than I hate his world. Maya stopped at the entrance, rain drumming the awning above. You'll understand someday. When you meet someone who makes you stop caring about all the logical reasons you should walk away. Celine doubted that. She taught literature at a community arts center in the Warehouse District. Her students were high school dropouts trying to finish their degrees, immigrants working on their English, retired people who never got around to reading Steinbeck. She dated occasionally, quiet men who worked normal jobs and wanted normal things. Nothing about her life intersected with whatever happened inside estates like this. The front doors opened onto a world that shouldn't exist in the same city where Celine bought groceries and graded essays. Marble floors polished mirror bright. Crystal chandeliers that looked like they belonged in European palaces. Paintings on the walls that were either expensive reproductions or the kind of originals that ended up in museums after their owners died. People moved through the space dressed in clothes Celine couldn't afford, even if she saved for years, talking in low voices about things that sounded important and probably weren't. Champagne? A server appeared beside her holding a tray. Celine took a glass because it gave her something to hold. The champagne tasted expensive and wrong. Everything here tasted expensive and wrong. Maya vanished into the crowd within minutes, pulled toward Marcus and his family and the elaborate performance of being engaged to money. Celine drifted toward the edges of the room, staying near walls, trying to become invisible. That's when she saw him. He stood at the top of the marble staircase dressed entirely in black. Suit jacket, shirt, tie. Everything dark except his skin and the cold calculation in his eyes. Not handsome in any traditional sense. Sharp features, hard mouth, the kind of face that looked like it had seen things that left marks underneath. But people moved around him like he generated his own gravity. Men twice his age lowered their gaze when he passed. Women watched him with fascination and something that looked like fear. Conversations paused when he came near, then restarted quieter after he moved on. Celine knew who he was without being told. Damien Ashcroft. She'd heard the name whispered in coffee shops and shouted in courtrooms, and mentioned in news articles that used words like alleged and suspected and connected to, but never said anything directly. The man who supposedly ran half the criminal operations in Blackthorn City while maintaining the appearance of legitimate business. The ghost behind political campaigns and real estate deals and sudden disappearances, nobody investigated too closely. He descended the staircase with the kind of control that suggested violence held carefully in check. And then his eyes found hers. The connection hit like physical impact. Damien stopped mid-step. His expression didn't change. He'd probably spent years learning to control every visible reaction. But something shifted in the air between them. Recognition without prior meeting. Connection without reason. Celine's breath caught. She should look away. Break the moment. Pretend she hadn't felt whatever the hell that was. She couldn't. For 5 seconds that stretched impossible, they stared at each other across a crowded ballroom full of people who didn't matter. Then someone spoke to Damien, an older man in an expensive suit, probably important, definitely irritating. And the moment shattered. Damien's attention shifted. His expression locked back into cold calculation. He moved into conversation like nothing had happened. Celine exhaled hard, champagne trembling in her hand. "You okay?" Maya reappeared looking concerned. "You look like you saw something horrifying." "Who is he?" Celine already knew. She needed confirmation anyway. Damien Ashcroft, Marcus's business partner. Well, not partner exactly. More like the guy you don't say no to when he suggests business arrangements. Maya followed Celine's gaze. "Why? Please tell me you're not interested. That man is beautiful and absolutely lethal." "I'm not interested." "You're a terrible liar." "I'm going to the bathroom." Celine handed Maya her champagne and escaped before more questions came. She found refuge in a hallway lined with family portraits, generations of Ashcrofts staring down with expressions ranging from stern to cruel. Old money built on industries that didn't exist anymore, transformed into new money through methods nobody examined too closely. Celine studied a painting of a woman in a garden, roses blooming behind her, something sad in her painted eyes despite her smile. "My mother." Celine spun around. Damien stood 3 feet away, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. Up close he looked older than 32. Lines around his eyes that came from stress instead of laughter. Scars on his knuckles that suggested hands-on violence, not just orders given from a distance. "She died when I was 14, he continued, voice flat. "Cancer. Spent her last months in a hospice watching gardens through a window because she was too weak to walk outside. That painting was done the summer before diagnosis. She never looked that happy again." Celine didn't know what to say. Condolences felt hollow. Silence felt appropriate. "You don't belong here." Damien said it like a fact, not an insult. "I came with my friend, Maya Chen, Marcus's fiancée. Teacher at a community arts center downtown. Lives in a studio apartment in the warehouse district. Drinks tea instead of coffee. Reads poetry that makes you cry in public." He watched her expression carefully. "I know everything about everyone who enters this house. It's called survival. That's called stalking. It's called being prepared." Something almost like amusement touched his voice. "You teach literature to people society already gave up on. You believe stories can save lives. You think kindness matters more than power." He stepped closer. "Do you know what I do for a living?" "I've heard rumors. The rumors are generous. Reality is worse." Damien's voice dropped. "I run operations that would make you sick if you understood them completely. I've killed people, ordered more killed, built an empire on fear and blood and leverage that would destroy anyone stupid enough to challenge it. Men who cross me disappear. Families who owe me money pay in ways that keep them up at night." He stopped inches away. "You should be terrified of me." Celine met his stare. "But I'm not." "Then you're dangerously naive. Or maybe I see something everyone else is too afraid to look at." Damien's expression cracked for half a second. Something raw underneath. Loneliness, maybe. Exhaustion. The weight of ruling through violence when all you wanted was someone to see you as human. Then his control snapped back. Go home, Celine. He turned away. Forget you came here. Forget you saw me. Live your quiet life teaching poetry to people who still believe in hope. He paused at the hallway entrance. And never come back. He disappeared into the crowd before she could respond. Celine stood there shaking, heart pounding against ribs, breath coming too fast. She didn't know what the hell just happened, only that something fundamental had shifted and she couldn't put it back. She left the party without saying goodbye to Maya. 3 days passed before Celine stopped thinking about him. 3 hours before she started again. She tried focusing on work. Her Tuesday morning class was discussing Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath, the section about families breaking apart under economic pressure, about dignity lost one humiliation at a time. Her students connected to it immediately because half of them lived it. The system's designed to crush you, Robert Martinez said from the back row, 62 years old and attending college for the first time after his factory closed. The Jodes never had a chance. Nobody does when money decides everything. But they kept fighting, Celine countered, even when it was hopeless. Why? Because giving up means dying inside. This from An Nguyen, 19 years old, working 3 jobs while finishing her degree. Sometimes fighting is the only choice that lets you stay human. Celine thought about Damien saying he'd killed people, admitting his empire was built on blood, warning her away like proximity to him carried disease. Then she thought about the loneliness underneath, the exhaustion, the way he looked at her like she represented something he'd lost before he was old enough to name it. What if fighting makes you a monster? Celine asked quietly. The class went silent. Then you decide if survival is worth the cost, Robert said finally. Some people choose to become monsters because it's the only way to protect what matters. Doesn't make it right, just makes it real. That afternoon, Celine found herself walking downtown without conscious decision. Past the Arts Center, through streets that shifted from gentrified storefronts to abandoned buildings, into the warehouse district where rent was cheap and businesses were questionable. She stopped in front of a bookstore she'd passed 100 times without entering. Marginalia Books, according to faded letters above the door. Display windows crammed with used paperbacks, vintage hardcovers, and poetry collections that looked like they'd survived multiple floods. The kind of place that existed because someone loved books more than profit. A bell chimed when she entered. Inside smelled like old paper, dust, and coffee gone cold. Shelves reached the ceiling, packed tight, organized by some system only the owner understood. A cat slept on the counter. Soft music played from a radio that looked older than Selena. Help you find something? The owner appeared from between stacks. Elderly woman, maybe 70, sharp eyes behind reading glasses. Just browsing? Take your time. Nobody rushes in here. That's the whole point. Celine drifted through narrow aisles, running fingers along spines. Poetry section. Fiction classics. Philosophy texts that looked like they hadn't been opened in decades. She pulled out a copy of Pablo Neruda's 20 Love Poems because it reminded her of college, of believing literature could make you feel alive. That's when she heard the voice behind her. I want to do with you what spring does with the cherry trees. Celine turned. Damien stood 5 feet away holding a worn copy of Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea, dressed in jeans and a black shirt instead of the expensive suit from the party. He looked different, younger somehow, more human. You're following me, Celine said. I own this building. The bookstore pays reduced rent because the owner reminds me of my mother. He set the Hemingway down carefully. I come here when I need to remember that beauty still exists between the violence. Do you need reminding often? Every day. Damien moved closer. I told you to stay away. I'm not here for you. I'm here for books. You're a terrible liar. He stopped inches away, close enough that Celine could see gray threading through his dark hair, could smell expensive cologne mixed with something sharper underneath. Smoke, maybe. Gunpowder. Things that left residue. I've spent 3 days trying not to think about you. Buried myself in business deals and situations that should have consumed all my attention. Didn't work. What kind of situations? The kind that end with bodies. He said it flatly. A rival crew tried moving product through my territory. I made sure nobody tries that again. You want details? Blood on warehouse floors, men begging before they stop begging, the smell of fear mixed with gasoline. His voice stayed level. This is who I am, what I do, the world I live in. Celine should have run. Every logical instinct screamed at her to walk away from the man admitting to murder in a used bookstore on a Tuesday afternoon. She stayed. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Because you look at me like I'm human. Damien's control cracked. Everyone else sees a weapon, a threat, something to fear or leverage or destroy. You saw something else that night, something I spent 15 years burying. He reached out, stopped himself before touching her face. I need you to understand what being near me means. People who get close to me die. Not metaphorically, actually die. Violently. Because my enemies use weakness as ammunition, and anyone I care about becomes a target. So you care about me? I shouldn't. His hand dropped. But yes. The confession hung between them like something fragile and dangerous. Celine stepped closer. Show me. Show you what? Who you really are. Not the monster everyone's afraid of. Not the Empire. Just you. Damien stared at her like she'd spoken a language he'd forgotten. Then he took her hand, his grip careful despite calloused palms and scarred knuckles, and led her out of the bookstore. They drove through Blackthorn City in a car that probably cost more than Celine would earn in 5 years. Rain still hammering the streets, sky dark despite being afternoon. Damien didn't speak. Neither did she. The silence felt heavy with things neither of them knew how to say. He took her to the harbor district where abandoned warehouses clustered near the water, industrial decay spreading like infection. Stopped in front of a building that looked condemned, rusted metal siding, broken windows, graffiti covering every surface. This is where I grew up, Damien said. Before the estate. Before money. When my father was still alive and my mother worked 3 jobs trying to keep us fed. They walked inside. The warehouse interior had been partially converted. Living space carved from industrial ruin, furniture that looked salvaged, a kitchen consisting of a hot plate and mini fridge. Someone had tried making it home and failed. My father died when I was 12, Damien continued, voice flat. Killed by the same organization I eventually took over. They made my mother watch. Made me watch. Then told us we worked for them now or we'd die the same way. He moved through the space, touching walls like they held memories. I spent 2 years learning how to survive, how to fight, how to kill when necessary. At 14, I murdered the man who killed my father, used his own knife, made it slow. Celine's breath caught. At 16, I'd eliminated everyone above me in the hierarchy. At 18, I controlled half the criminal operations in this city. At 22, I'd consolidated power completely. He turned to face her. My mother died 2 years later watching gardens through hospice windows, knowing exactly what I'd become to keep us alive. Her last words were, I'm sorry, not for dying, for creating a monster. You're not a monster. Yes, I am. Damien's voice cracked. I've done things that would make you sick, hurt people who didn't deserve it, destroyed families, built an empire on suffering. He stepped closer. But when you look at me, I feel human again, like maybe there's something worth saving underneath all the blood. Celine crossed the space between them. Then let me save it. You can't save me, Celine. Nobody can. Maybe not, but I can choose to stay anyway. She kissed him before logic could interfere. Damien froze for half a heartbeat. Then his control shattered completely. He pulled her against him like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning, kissing her with desperate intensity that tasted like relief and terror combined. They stayed there tangled together in a warehouse that smelled like rust and rain, 2 people who shouldn't fit trying to prove that maybe broken things could still connect. When they finally pulled apart, Damien looked at her with something raw and unguarded in his expression. You need to understand what this means, he said. If we do this, if you become part of my life, you become a target. My enemies will use you against me. You'll be watched constantly, protected by armed men. Your freedom will disappear. Every relationship you have outside me will become dangerous. Your students, your friends, your family, everyone you care about becomes leverage. I understand. No, you don't. Not really. Not until it happens. His hands tightened on her shoulders. But I'm too selfish to let you go. I tried. Failed. You've already ruined me. Good, Celine whispered. They left the warehouse as rain intensified, wind howling between buildings, the whole city feeling like it was holding its breath before something violent. Damien's phone rang during the drive back. He answered immediately, voice shifting into the cold calculation she recognized from the party. Where? A pause. How many? Another pause. Don't move. I'm coming. He disconnected, hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel. What's wrong? Celine asked. My sister, Vivian, she's 19, attends university uptown, studies architecture, has nothing to do with my business. His voice stayed level through obvious fear. She was followed leaving campus, 3 cars, professional surveillance. Someone's making a move. Take me home first. No time. He made a call, spoke in rapid commands. Get everyone to the penthouse, full security protocol. Nobody in or out without my approval. Activate all countermeasures. He disconnected, made another call. It's starting. Move all operations to secondary locations. Liquidate anything that can be traced. Prepare for full war. Celine's stomach dropped. War? Someone discovered you exist. Damien's voice went dead calm, the kind of calm that suggested violence underneath. 3 days after we meet, my sister gets targeted. That's not coincidence. That's a message. He looked at her with something terrible in his expression. They're going to use everyone I love to destroy me, starting now. The car accelerated through rain-slicked streets, other vehicles scattering from their path, the city blurring past windows like something already burning. Damien's phone rang again. He answered, listened. His expression went absolutely still. Then he ended the call and drove faster. What happened? Celine demanded. They took her. His voice barely qualified as human. Vivian, 3 minutes ago, 2 blocks from campus, professionals, clean operation. Van was gone before anyone could respond. Where are they taking her? I don't know yet. Damien's hands shook despite his controlled voice. But I will. And when I find them, I'm going to burn down everything they've ever loved before I let them die. He made another call. It's me. Yes. I need every resource activated. Full mobilization. I want eyes on every camera in this city. Traffic surveillance, private security, anything that moves. Find that van. A pause. I don't care about collateral damage. Find her now, or I start killing people until someone talks. They reached the penthouse as full dark settled. Damien's building rose 40 stories above downtown, glass and steel reaching into storm clouds. Security that looked military grade. Armed men filled the lobby, more stationed at every floor. The penthouse itself occupied the entire top level, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, furniture that screamed money, technology that suggested surveillance more than comfort. It felt like a fortress disguised as luxury. Damien paced near the windows, phone pressed to his ear, voice snapping commands. I want every informant activated, every contact pressured. Someone knows something. Make them talk. He disconnected, immediately dialed again. It's me. Yes, I'm calling in the favor. All of it. Every crew that owes me. Everyone who wants protection. I need them mobilized now. Celine stood near the entrance feeling helpless. This was the world Damien had warned her about. Not theoretical danger, actual violence happening in real time. Damien, stay quiet. He didn't look at her. I need to think. His phone rang. He answered, listened. His expression changed. Where? A pause. You're sure? Another pause. Get everyone in position. I'm coming. He ended the call and looked at Celine with something absolutely lethal in his eyes. They want to negotiate, he said flatly. Meeting, neutral ground, Vivian in exchange for territorial concessions. That's good, right? You can get her back. It's a trap. Damien moved to a wall panel, pressed something that made part of the wall slide open. Behind was an arsenal. Weapons Celine couldn't identify, body armor, equipment that looked military. They don't want negotiation. They want me exposed, vulnerable. Then they'll kill both of us and claim territory while the organization scrambles. So what do? I spring the trap. Damien pulled weapons down, check them with practiced efficiency. Then I kill everyone involved. You can't just, yes, I can. He strapped on body armor, movements methodical. This is what I do, Celine. This is who I am. You wanted to see the real me? You're about to. He finished arming himself, turned to face her. For a moment, the mask dropped completely. She saw fear underneath, desperation. The brother terrified of losing his sister mixed with the warlord preparing for violence. If I don't come back, you're coming back. If I don't, he continued, there's an envelope in the desk. Instructions, money, contacts who will protect you. Get out of Blackthorn City, change your name, start over somewhere safe. Forget you ever met me. Celine crossed to him. I'm not forgetting anything. Celine, she kissed him, hard, desperate, tasting fear and determination and something that felt like goodbye. Come back, she whispered against his mouth. I'll try. Then he was gone, armed men following, the penthouse suddenly feeling enormous and empty. Celine stood alone 40 stories above Blackthorn City, watching rain hammer against windows, police sirens wailing somewhere below, the whole night feeling like it was holding its breath before something shattered. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Celine Vale. The voice was male, calm, educated. You don't know me yet, but I know everything about you. Where you work, where you live, the names of your students, your mother's address in Portland, your friend Maya's wedding date. Celine's blood went cold. You've become very important to Damien Ashcroft very quickly, the voice continued. That makes you very valuable, also very vulnerable. Right now, Damien is walking into a meeting that will probably kill him. When he dies, you become an asset to be liquidated. Unless what? Unless you leave. Tonight. Disappear completely. We'll provide resources, new identity, financial support. All you have to do is walk away and never contact Damien again. Let him fight his war without worrying about you. Give him a chance to survive. And if I refuse, then you'll watch everyone you care about die one at a time until you wish we'd killed you first. The voice stayed pleasant. This isn't personal, Miss Vale. It's business. Damien built his empire on fear and violence. Now someone else is using his methods against him. You're just collateral damage. The line went dead. Celine stood shaking, phone trembling in her hand, rain hammering the windows like the whole world was trying to break in. She had two choices: run and save herself, stay and become the weapon used to destroy the man she was falling in love with. Outside, lightning split the sky above Blackthorn City. Thunder followed seconds later, rattling windows, shaking the penthouse. Somewhere in the dark, Damien was walking into a trap. And Celine had to decide if love was worth dying for. Celine stood frozen in the penthouse 40 stories above a city that suddenly felt like it wanted her dead. Rain hammered against floor-to-ceiling windows. Thunder cracked somewhere over the harbor district. Her phone screen stayed dark after the call disconnected, but the voice still echoed in her skull. You'll watch everyone you care about die one at a time. Her hands shook. She pressed them flat against the glass, cold seeping through her palms, trying to ground herself in something physical, something real. Below, Blackthorn City sprawled in all directions. Millions of lights, millions of people who had no idea what happened in penthouses and warehouses and back rooms where power got negotiated in blood. She'd been one of them 4 days ago, teaching literature to students who believed stories mattered, drinking tea in her studio apartment, living a life so small and safe it felt suffocating sometimes. Now someone threatened to kill everyone she loved unless she disappeared. Celine pulled out her phone, dialed Maya. 3 rings. 4. Voicemail. She tried again. Nothing. Panic spiked cold through her chest. She called the art center. No answer. Called her mother in Portland. Straight to voicemail. No. They're fine. Celine spun around. A man stood near the penthouse entrance. Tall, maybe 40, expensive suit soaked with rain, graying hair slicked back, expression that suggested violence held in check through effort. He held a gun casually against his thigh, like it was part of his anatomy. Who the hell are you? Marcus Chen sent me. Your friend Maya's fiancé. He figured you'd panic after that phone call. The man moved into the space, tracking rain across marble floors. I'm Vincent Reeves, head of security for the Chen family. Also the person who makes sure people like you don't get killed when they stumble into situations way above their understanding. How did you get in here? Damien and Marcus are business partners. I have access codes. Vincent set his gun on a side table, pulled off his jacket. Your friend Maya is at the Chen estate under armed guard. Your mother's flight to Portland was delayed 3 hours due to weather. She's still in the airport surrounded by people I trust. Your students are home or at work completely unaware anything's wrong. Nobody's dead yet. Yet, Vincent agreed. He moved to a bar set up near the windows, poured whiskey into a glass without asking permission. You want one? I want to know what the hell is happening. War. He drank, grimaced. The kind that ends with bodies. Damien built his empire by being smarter and more ruthless than everyone else. Worked great until someone decided to use his methods against him. Vincent poured another glass, pushed it toward Celine. You're the opening move. Get you scared enough to run, Damien loses focus. Loses focus, he makes mistakes. Makes mistakes, he dies. His organization fragments. Territory gets claimed by whoever survives. Celine ignored the whiskey. Who's doing this? Organization called the Hollow Saints. Been operating in the Southern Territories for years. Damien never bothered them because their business didn't overlap. Then 6 months ago they expanded north. Started moving into Ashcroft territory. Small probes at first, testing boundaries. Damien pushed back but didn't escalate because he was trying to avoid open conflict. Vincent laughed bitterly. Turns out restraint looks like weakness when the other side wants blood. And Vivian? Leverage. They grab Damien's sister, force a meeting, kill him during negotiation. Classic trap. Damien knows it's a trap. Going anyway because the alternative is letting his sister die. Vincent finished his drink. What he doesn't know is they're using you as insurance. If the meeting somehow fails, they still have someone close enough to destroy him psychologically. The phone call. First contact. They'll call again. Make demands. Probably threaten specific people with specific violence until you're terrified enough to comply. He met her eyes. Question is what you do when that happens. Celine crossed to the windows, pressed her forehead against cold glass. Below, police sirens wailed. Ambulances. Fire trucks. The city's emergency systems responding to crises happening simultaneously across multiple districts. This is because of me, she whispered. No. This is because Damien let himself care about someone for the first time in 15 years, and his enemies recognized vulnerability when they saw it. Vincent's reflection appeared beside hers in the glass. You didn't start this war, but you're definitely a weapon in it now. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number again. Vincent moved fast, pulling equipment from his jacket. Answer it. Keep them talking. I'll trace the call. Selena's hand shook, picking up the phone. Hello? Miss Vale, I trust you've had time to consider our offer. Same voice from before. Calm. Educated. The kind of voice that ordered executions in between business meetings. Have you made a decision? I need more time. Time is expensive. Every minute you delay costs someone their safety. Papers rustled on his end. Let's see. Your student Robert Martinez, 62 years old, lives alone in a ground floor apartment with inadequate locks, works night security at a warehouse on the waterfront. Very isolated, very vulnerable. Celine's breath caught. Don't, or perhaps on Nguyen. 19. Works 3 jobs. Walks home alone after her shift at the Vietnamese restaurant ends at 11 p.m. The route takes her through 2 blocks with no security cameras and minimal foot traffic. Anything could happen to a young woman alone in the dark. You son of a bitch. I'm offering you a choice, Miss Vale. Walk away tonight and they all stay safe. Stay with Damien and I'll hurt them one at a time until you beg me to let you leave. The voice stayed pleasant. You have 1 hour to decide. After that, Robert Martinez has a very unfortunate accident during his security rounds. Something with heavy machinery. Very messy. Very traumatic. The line went dead. Celine stood there shaking, phone dropping from her hand, breath coming in gasps that hurt. Vincent caught the phone before it hit the floor. Got it, he said, looking at equipment. Call originated from a cell tower in the industrial district. Bounce through multiple relays, but the source point is a warehouse cluster near Pier 17. That doesn't help Damien. No, but it tells us where their operations center is. Vincent made a call, spoke in rapid commands. It's Reeves. I've got a location. Pier 17, warehouse cluster. They're running communications from there. Get teams in position, but don't engage until I give the word. He disconnected, looked at Celine. You should leave. Get somewhere safe. This is about to get very loud and very violent. I'm not leaving. Then you're an idiot. Probably. Celine's hands stopped shaking. Something cold settled in her chest. Clarity. Decision. The moment where fear transformed into something harder. But if I run now, Damien fights alone. People die because I was too scared to stay. I've spent my whole life playing it safe, teaching literature instead of writing it. Dating men I didn't love because they seemed sensible. Living small because big felt dangerous. She turned to face Vincent. I'm done being small. Vincent stared at her. Then he smiled. Sharp expression that looked dangerous on his weathered face. You might survive this after all. He tossed her a phone. Different model. Heavy. Reinforced. Encrypted. Direct line to me and a dozen other people who'll respond if you're in trouble. Someone comes for you. Hit the panic button on the side. Help arrives in under 3 minutes. What about Damien? He's walking into an ambush in the warehouse district. Neutral ground that stopped being neutral the second they chose the location. He'll have 20 men with him. They'll have 40, plus home field advantage, plus snipers positioned on every roof within shooting distance. Vincent checked his own weapon, reloaded with practiced efficiency. Marcus sent me here to protect you, but honestly, Damien needs backup more than you need babysitting right now. Then go help him. Not that simple. I leave. You're exposed. They've probably got teams watching this building waiting for security gaps. He moved to the windows, scanning rooftops across the street. We're stuck here until someone makes a move. Thunder cracked overhead. The penthouse lights flickered once, twice, then died completely. Emergency lighting kicked in seconds later. Dim red glow that turned the whole space into something from a nightmare. Vincent had his gun up instantly, scanning shadows. That wasn't weather, he said quietly. They cut the power? Or something worse. He pulled a second weapon from an ankle holster, handed it to Celine. You know how to use this? I've never held a gun in my life. Point the end with the hole at whatever you want to stop existing. Pull the trigger. Recoil's gonna hurt, but you'll survive. He moved toward the entrance, steps silent despite his size. Stay behind me. Something happens to me. You run for the stairs. Don't stop until you're outside and surrounded by witnesses. Celine's hands shook holding the gun. It felt heavier than it should, more real. The weight of violence condensed into metal and mechanics. The elevator dinged. Vincent went absolutely still. That shouldn't be possible. Emergency protocols lock all elevators during power failure. Unless someone overrode the protocols. Yeah. He aimed at the elevator doors. Get behind the couch. Now. Celine moved fast, crouching behind leather furniture that probably wouldn't stop bullets but felt safer than standing exposed. The gun trembled in her hands. Her heart hammered against ribs hard enough to hurt. The elevator doors slid open. Nobody emerged. Vincent waited, weapon trained on the empty space, breathing controlled. 10 seconds. 20. Nothing moved. Then a phone skittered out of the elevator across marble floors, spinning to a stop in the middle of the penthouse. It rang. Vincent looked at Celine. She shook her head. He approached the phone carefully, weapon never wavering, checked for wires or explosives. Found nothing, picked it up, answered on speaker. Vincent Reeves. The voice was different this time. Younger, casual, someone who enjoyed violence instead of treating it as business. Marcus Chen's attack dog. I was hoping you'd be here. Who is this? Someone who's going to make you watch while we hurt everyone you're supposed to protect. Laughter. Look out the windows. East side. 3 buildings over. Rooftop. Vincent moved to the windows. Celine followed despite every instinct screaming at her to hide. Across the street, on a building slightly lower than Damien's penthouse, figures moved on the rooftop. Flashes of light. Camera equipment. You seen this? The voice continued. That's a live feed. Streaming directly to Damien's phone right now while he's sitting in a warehouse waiting to negotiate. He's watching you stand there armed and scared and completely surrounded, watching the woman he cares about become a target. You know what that does to someone like Damien? Splits his focus, makes him weak, makes him dead. You son of a bitch. Here's how this plays out. You've got two choices. One, stay there and defend her while our teams breach the building. You'll kill maybe 6, 8 guys before they overwhelm you through numbers. Celine dies. You die. Damien watches it happen via camera feed and loses his mind during the meeting. Gets himself killed being stupid. Everyone loses. The voice paused. Or 2, you leave now. Go help Damien. Abandon the girl. Let us take her. She becomes leverage. Damien stays focused enough to maybe survive the ambush. Maybe negotiates a trade later. Long shot, but better than option 1. Vincent's jaw clenched. That's not a choice. That's extortion. That's war, asshole. You stay. Everyone dies. You go. Some of you might live. Clock's ticking. Teams are already in the building heading up. You've got maybe 3 minutes before they breach this floor. The line went dead. Celine stood there feeling ice spread through her chest. This was the trap. Not just Damien getting ambushed. Everyone he cared about getting targeted simultaneously. Split his focus. Make him choose between people he loved. Force mistakes. Vincent turned to her, expression hard. I'm not leaving you. Yes, you are. Celine, he's right. You stay here. We both die, and Damien loses focus completely. You go help him. At least he survives. Her voice stayed steady despite terror clawing at her throat. I didn't ask for protection. I asked to make my own choices. This is one. They'll hurt you. Probably, but I'll be alive. That's better than the alternative. She pushed the gun back toward him. Go, now, before they get here. Vincent stared at her. Then he grabbed her shoulders hard enough to hurt. You're either the bravest person I've met or the most suicidal. Haven't decided which. He pulled equipment from his jacket. Small device that looked like a thick coin. Tracking chip. Swallow it. Don't let them know you have it. We'll find you. Celine swallowed the chip without hesitation. It went down hard, foreign object scraping her throat. Damien's gonna kill me for this, Vincent muttered. Then he ran for the stairs, weapon up, disappearing into red emergency lighting. Celine stood alone in the penthouse, listening to footsteps echo in the stairwell. Vincent going down. Other footsteps coming up. She had maybe 90 seconds. She moved fast, mind racing, grabbed her phone, sent a text to Maya. I love you. Whatever happens next, don't blame yourself. Deleted the message history. Left the phone on the counter. Pulled off her jacket. Ripped open the lining. Inside was cash she'd carried since the first night at the Ashcroft estate. Emergency money, habit from growing up poor, always having escape funds. $300. Not much. Maybe enough. She shoved the cash in her jeans pocket, looked around the penthouse for anything else useful. Found nothing. Everything here belonged to Damien's world. She was just visiting. Footsteps in the hallway now. Close. Multiple people moving fast. Celine stood in the center of the penthouse, hands empty, breath steady. She'd made her choice. Now she lived with it. The door exploded inward. 6 men stormed through, tactical gear, weapons up, moving like professionals. They swept the space efficiently, clearing corners, checking for threats. Found her standing alone. On the ground! Now! Celine dropped to her knees, hands behind her head. Cold marble bit through her jeans. Her heart hammered, but she kept her expression calm. Don't give them fear. Don't give them anything. One man approached, older than the others, scarred face, dead eyes that suggested he'd done this before. He grabbed her hair, yanked her head back hard enough to make her vision blur. Where's Reeves? Gone. Gone where? To help Damien. She met his stare. You wanted me isolated. Congratulations. Here I am. He hit her. Open palm across the face. Pain exploded through her cheek. Blood filled her mouth from a split lip. She spat red onto white marble. You think you're brave? He crouched down, face inches from hers. You're not brave. You're stupid. You just volunteered to be the reason Damien Ashcroft dies tonight. They zip-tied her wrists, pulled a hood over her head. Everything went dark. Hands grabbed her arms, lifted her, marched her forward. She counted steps, tried tracking direction, lost count around 30. Elevator doors opened. They pushed her inside. The descent felt endless. Her stomach dropped. The hood smelled like chemicals and someone else's fear. They emerged into cold air. Outside. Rain hammered the hood. Wind tried ripping it off. Hands shoved her forward. She stumbled, would have fallen if they hadn't held her up. Put her in the van! Doors opened. They threw her inside. She hit metal flooring hard, shoulder screaming protest. The doors slammed. Engines started. They moved. Celine lay there in darkness, listening to rain hammer the van roof, trying to breathe through fabric that tasted like terror, wondering if she'd just made the best decision of her life or the last one. Otak. The warehouse smelled like rust, standing water, and old violence. Damien sat at a metal table in the center of the space, rain hammering the corrugated roof above, 10 of his men positioned behind him, and another 10 outside covering approaches. Inadequate numbers. He knew it. Came anyway. Across the table sat a man who introduced himself as Christopher Wade. Late 40s, expensive suit that looked wrong in surroundings like this. Gray threading his temples. Smile that never reached his eyes. "Thank you for coming, Mr. Ashcroft." Wade's voice carried the educated tone of someone who'd attended elite schools and learned violence there. "I know you're a busy man. Where's my sister?" "Safe, comfortable, unharmed." Wade folded his hands on the table. "She'll stay that way as long as this conversation remains civil." "You kidnapped a 19-year-old college student who has nothing to do with my business. There's nothing civil about this. Your business is exactly why she's involved." Wade pulled out a tablet, turned it to face Damien. "The Hollow Saints have been operating in Southern territories for 8 years. Profitable operations. Stable relationships. Then 6 months ago, you started expanding south, pushing into our supply routes, undercutting our prices, pressuring our distributors. That's called competition. That's called aggression. We tried reaching out, proposing territory agreements. You ignored us." Wade's voice hardened. "So we escalated. Small moves at first, testing your boundaries. You push back harder. Now we're here, at an impasse that ends with either negotiation or bodies." Damien's phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it. It buzzed again. Again. "You should check that," Wade said mildly. "Might be important." Damien pulled out his phone. Saw a video notification. Opened it against every instinct screaming this was part of the trap. The video showed his penthouse. Emergency lighting. Vincent Reeves standing near the windows. And Celine, terrified, holding a gun she clearly didn't know how to use, looking like prey surrounded by predators. "Live feed," Wade said, "streaming from across the street. Your girlfriend's been targeted. 3 separate teams moving into your building right now. In about..." He checked his watch. 2 minutes, they'll breach your penthouse. Vincent Reeves will try protecting her. He'll fail. She'll die badly. Unless... Damien's vision tunneled. His hands started shaking, every carefully maintained control cracking apart. Unless what? Unless you agree to our terms right now, complete territorial withdrawal from southern districts, 25% reduction in northern operations, $50 million in reparations. Sign the agreement. I make one call. My teams stand down. Your girlfriend stays breathing. This was the play. Split his attention. Make him choose between Vivian and Celine. Force decisions under emotional pressure instead of strategic thinking. Amateur hour tactics that worked because they targeted human weakness instead of tactical vulnerabilities. Damien looked at his second-in-command standing behind him. Marcus had been with him since the beginning, knew how he thought, understood what needed to happen. Marcus nodded slightly. "Show me my sister first," Damien said. Proof of life." Wade smiled. "Of course." He gestured to someone off camera. A door opened in the background. 2 men walked in, holding Vivienne between them. She looked terrified, but unharmed. Duct tape across her mouth. Hands bound. When she saw Damien on the video screen, tears started streaming down her face. "Satisfied?" Wade asked. "Yeah." Damien stood slowly. "Real satisfied." Then everything exploded. Marcus moved first. Gun up, firing twice, both shots hitting Wade's center mass. The other Ashcroft men opened fire simultaneously, targeting everyone in the warehouse who wasn't family. Wade's security responded instantly. Professionals. Well trained. They dove for cover, returned fire, turned the warehouse into thunder and muzzle flashes. Damien ran toward Vivian while bullets chewed through metal walls around him. One of Wade's men blocked his path. Damien shot him twice, didn't slow down. Another man appeared. Marcus dropped him from across the warehouse. Damien reached Vivian, pulled her down behind a concrete pillar, ripped the tape from her mouth. "Stay low, don't move." "Damien, not now." He handed her a gun from his ankle holster. "Safety's off. Point and shoot if anyone comes near you." He moved back into the fight. Wade was down but not dead, crawling toward cover, leaving blood trails across concrete. Damien crossed the space in 3 strides, kicked the wounded man onto his back, pressed his gun against Wade's forehead. "Call them off," Damien said quietly. "Now, or I paint the walls with your brain and hunt down everyone you've ever loved." Wade laughed. Blood bubbled on his lips. "Too late. Your girl's already—" Damien shot him, not fatally, through the shoulder. Wade screamed, "Call them off!" "Go to hell." Damien shot the other shoulder. More screaming. He pulled out his phone, shoved it in Wade's face. "Make the call. Tell your teams to stand down. Or the next bullet goes through your spine and you spend the rest of your life pissing through a tube." Wade's hand shook, pulling out his phone. He dialed, waited. "Stand down," he gasped. "All teams, operations compromised. Stand down." "Confirm it," Damien demanded. Wade spoke into the phone again. "Code Autumn. Full withdrawal. Confirm receipt." He listened. Nodded weakly. "They're pulling back." Damien took the phone, checked the video feed of his penthouse, saw men in tactical gear leaving the building, vanishing into stairwells. Vincent appeared on screen seconds later, weapon up, clearing the space. But Celine was gone. Damien's blood went cold. "Where is she?" "Don't know what you—" Damien pressed the gun harder against Wade's head. "Where is she?" "Leverage." Wade smiled through bloody teeth. "Insurance policy. You killed me, she dies. You let me live, maybe we negotiate. Either way, she's ours now." Damien pulled the trigger. Wade's head snapped back. Body went limp. Brain matter decorated concrete behind him. The warehouse went silent except for ringing ears and rain hammering the roof. Marcus appeared beside Damien. "That was sloppy. We could have interrogated him, found out where they took her." "I don't need interrogation." Damien was already moving toward the exit. "I need Vincent. He put a tracker on her. We find the signal, we find Celine. And if the signal's dead, then I burn this whole fucking city until someone tells me where she is." They reached the SUVs outside. Vivian was already secured in one vehicle surrounded by guards. Damien made brief eye contact with his sister, saw relief and terror and questions he didn't have time to answer. His phone rang. "Vincent." "Talk to me," Damien said. "I've got her location. The tracking chip's active. They took her to a warehouse in the industrial district, same area where their communications were earlier." Vincent's voice was tight with controlled rage. "I'm heading there now. ETA 12 minutes. Don't engage until I arrive. Damien, if they hurt her..." "They won't. Not until they're sure Wade is dead and their leverage is gone. We've got maybe 20 minutes before they realize their boss isn't coming back." Damien climbed into the lead SUV. Marcus took the wheel. "Send me coordinates. We're coming." The drive took 10 minutes that felt like hours. Damien sat in the back, cleaning Wade's blood off his hands with antiseptic wipes, trying to control the rage burning through his chest. He'd warned Celine, told her exactly what being close to him meant: enemies using her as leverage, violence following her everywhere, freedom disappearing behind armed guards and security protocols. She'd stayed anyway, and now she was paying the price for his inability to stay away from innocence. "You're spiraling," Marcus said from the driver's seat. "I can see it. Stop." "She's in a warehouse surrounded by people who want to use her to destroy me. How exactly should I be handling this? Tactically, strategically, like the man who built an empire through calculation instead of emotion." Marcus took a corner too fast. "You go in there angry, you make mistakes. Mistakes get her killed." "I'm aware." "Are you? Because right now you look like someone about to do something catastrophically stupid." Marcus pulled the SUV into an alley 3 blocks from the target warehouse, killed the engine, turned to face Damien. "She made her choice. Stayed with you knowing the cost. Now you honor that choice by getting her back alive, not by getting yourself killed being reckless." Damien met his oldest friend's stare. "You think I don't know that?" I think you're in love with her, and love makes smart people stupid. Marcus's expression softened slightly. But you're also the scariest bastard I've ever met when someone threatens what's yours. So channel that. Be the monster they're afraid of. Save the man who loves her after she's safe. Damien nodded slowly, pulled weapons from under the seat, checked them mechanically. How many men do we have in position? Vincent's already there with a sniper team on the adjacent building. Another dozen men surrounding the warehouse. More coming. Marcus armed himself. We've got overwhelming force. This should be quick. It won't be. They're expecting retaliation. Probably wired the building with explosives or positioned snipers or prepared ambush positions. Damien loaded his weapon with practiced efficiency. This is their last play. They'll make it count. His phone buzzed. Text from Vincent. Movement inside, 4 hostiles confirmed. Celine's in the northwest corner. Alive. Scared. Unharmed so far. Damien exhaled hard. Alive. That was something. They moved through rain-soaked streets toward the warehouse, staying in shadows, weapons ready. The building loomed ahead. 3 stories of industrial decay, broken windows, graffiti covering every surface. Looked abandoned. Probably wasn't. Vincent appeared from darkness ahead, rain streaming off his tactical gear. Sniper teams have eyes on all exits. Ground teams ready to breach. We can go loud or quiet. Your call. Quiet gets Celine killed if they panic. Loud warns them we're coming. Damien studied the building. We need a third option. I'll give you one. Marcus pulled out his phone, made a call. It's Chen, yeah, target building at Pier 17. Cut power to the whole block, now. He waited. Confirm when it's done. 30 seconds later, lights across the entire industrial district flickered and died. The warehouse went dark. Night vision, Damien said. They pulled on equipment that turned the world green and grainy, moved toward the warehouse's east entrance. Vincent's men covered their approach. Everything silent except rain and distant thunder. The entrance was chained shut. Marcus cut through it with bolt cutters. They slipped inside. The interior smelled like mold, chemicals, and fear. Damien moved through darkness following Vincent's directions. Weapon up, every sense screaming. Footsteps above them, voices arguing. Someone was panicking. They reached a stairwell. Started climbing. Second floor was empty. Third floor had movement. Vincent signaled. 4 targets, 1 hostage, northwest corner. Damien nodded, gestured for his men to spread out. They moved through the darkness like ghosts, surrounding the room where Celine was being held. Through a partially open door, Damien could see her. Still alive, sitting in a folding chair, hands zip-tied behind her back, hood removed. Her face was pale, lips split and swollen, left cheek already bruising. But her eyes were clear, focused, not broken. 4 men surrounded her, armed, nervous, arguing in low voices about what to do now that Wade wasn't answering his phone. Just kill her and dump the body. Need her alive for negotiation. Wade's dead, you moron. The operation's blown. Damien signaled his team. 3, 2, 1. They breached simultaneously from 4 directions. The men with Celine barely had time to react before bullets dropped 3 of them. The 4th grabbed Celine, pulled her up as a shield, gun pressed against her head. Back off! I swear to God I'll kill her! Damien stepped into the doorway, weapon aimed, expression absolutely calm. No, you won't. I'll fucking do it. You won't. Because the second you pull that trigger, you're dead. And unlike her, you won't die quick. Damien moved closer. But you let her go right now. You walk out of here breathing. Maybe even with enough money to disappear somewhere safe. The man's gun shook against Celine's temple. She stood perfectly still, eyes locked on Damien, breathing controlled despite obvious terror. How much? The man asked. 100,000. Cash, plus new identity documents and a 12-hour head start before I come looking. Damien holstered his weapon slowly. Or you die here. Your choice. Damien? Celine's voice was hoarse. Quiet, he said softly. Then to the man, clock's ticking. Wade's dead. Your organization's collapsing. Every second you stand here is a second closer to someone else coming through that door, looking for revenge. Take the deal. The man's hand shook harder. His eyes darted between Damien and the exits, calculating odds, coming up empty. Okay, he whispered. Okay, I take the money. Let her go. We all walk away. Smart choice. The man lowered his gun slightly, started backing toward the door, pulling Celine with him. That's when she moved. Celine threw her weight backward, dropping suddenly, making herself dead weight. The man stumbled. His gun arm came up. Damien moved faster, crossing the space in 2 strides, grabbing the weapon and twisting hard. Bones cracked. The man screamed. Damien ripped the gun away, threw him against the wall, pressed the barrel against his spine. You pointed a gun at her head, Damien said quietly. Deal's off. He pulled the trigger. The man dropped. Celine scrambled backward, breathing hard, eyes wide. Damien knelt beside her, pulled a knife, cut the zip ties. You're okay, he said, hands shaking worse than hers despite controlled voice. You're okay. I've got you. Celine threw her arms around his neck, buried her face against his shoulder. She was trembling. Not crying, just shaking hard enough he could feel it through his whole body. I thought, her voice broke, when they took me, I thought... I know. Damien held her like she was the only thing keeping him human. It's over. You're safe. Wade? Dead. His people? Dead or running. She pulled back enough to look at his face. Blood spattered his jaw, more on his shirt. His eyes looked empty except when they focused on her. You came for me, she whispered. Always. He stood, pulled her up with him. Can you walk? Yeah, I think so. Her legs shook but held. Damien, they knew everything. My students, my mother, Maya. They threatened... I know, Vincent told me. Damien kept one arm around her waist, supporting her weight. We'll deal with it. Right now we need to leave. This place isn't secure. They moved through the warehouse surrounded by armed men, stepping over bodies, rain hammering the broken windows. Outside, more SUVs waited. Damien guided Celine into the back of the lead vehicle, climbed in beside her. Marcus took the wheel again. Hospital? No, penthouse. I need her somewhere I control. She needs medical attention. Then bring doctors to the penthouse. We're not exposing her in a hospital surrounded by witnesses and security gaps. Damien pulled Celine closer. She was still shaking. Get us home. Now. The drive back felt longer than it was. Damien kept checking Celine's pulse, her breathing, the bruises forming on her face. She sat pressed against him, silent, processing trauma in whatever way her brain would let her. I should have run, she said finally, voice raw. When they first called, threatened my students, I should have disappeared, kept everyone safe. No. Yes. This is my fault. People died because I stayed. People died because they started a war they couldn't finish. Damien turned her face toward him gently. You didn't pull triggers. You didn't kidnap Vivian. You didn't target anyone. They made those choices. They paid for them. I'm not strong enough for this. Tears finally came, streaming down her bruised face. Your world. The violence. I teach literature, Damien. I help teenagers write college essays. I don't know how to survive wars. You survived tonight? Barely. Barely is enough. He wiped tears away with his thumb. You made choices under pressure that would break most people. Sent Vincent to help me instead of staying with protection. Dropped your weight when that man held you hostage instead of freezing. You survived. Because you came for me. Because you're stronger than you think. They reached the penthouse. Damien carried Celine inside despite her protest that she could walk. The space still showed signs of the earlier breach. Bullet holes in walls, blood on marble floors, emergency lighting casting everything in red. He took her to the bedroom, set her down carefully. She winced. Where does it hurt? Everywhere. Nowhere. I don't know. She looked at him, really looked, saw the blood on his hands, his clothes, his face. Did you kill Wade? Yes. Good. No hesitation, no moral struggle, just cold acceptance. He would have killed Vivian. He would have killed me. You did what needed doing. Damien stared at her. You shouldn't be okay with that. I'm not okay with any of this. But I understand it. Celine touched his face. You're not a monster, Damien. Monsters don't look at people the way you look at me. They don't break apart inside when someone they love gets hurt. You're just a man who had to become something terrible to survive. I see the difference." Something cracked in Damien's chest. He pulled her against him, buried his face in her hair, held on like she was the only thing keeping him from flying apart completely. "I can't lose you," he whispered. "I tried staying away. Tried protecting you by maintaining distance. Failed completely. Now you're in my world, and I can't keep you safe, and I don't know how to—" "Stop," Celine pulled back. "I made my choice. Knowing the cost, knowing the danger, you don't get to take that choice away by deciding what I can handle." "Celine, no, listen." Her voice steadied. "I love you. I've loved you since that night in the bookstore when you told me about your mother's garden, when you showed me who you really are underneath everything else. I'm not walking away. Not because I'm naive. Because I choose you fully. Monster and man, violence and vulnerability, all of it." Damien kissed her, desperate, drowning, tasting blood and tears and something that felt like salvation. When they broke apart, Celine's hands were shaking again. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we end this completely. The Hollow Saints just declared war. I'm going to finish it in a way that makes sure nobody ever targets you again." "How?" "By burning their entire organization to the ground and salting the earth where it stood." Damien's voice went cold. "By the time I'm done, saying your name in this city will be synonymous with touching something untouchable. Nobody will risk it. That's not a solution. That's escalation. That's survival." He stood, paced to the windows. Rain still hammered the glass. City lights flickered in the distance. "They came into my home, took my sister, threatened you, killed my people. There's no negotiation after that, only retaliation. And after the retaliation, what then? Someone else rises up, takes their territory, decides you're their next target?" Celine's voice rose. "When does it end, Damien? When does the violence stop?" "It doesn't." He turned to face her, expression absolutely flat. "This is my world. Violence doesn't end. It just shifts targets. Best I can do is make sure you're never one of them." "By making me a prison?" "By keeping you alive." Celine stood despite her shaking legs, crossed to him. "I don't want to live in a fortress surrounded by armed guards watching my every move. I don't want to be afraid of answering my phone or walking to work or seeing my students. That's not life. That's existing. It's survival. It's a cage." Tears streamed down her face. "And if you lock me in it, even to protect me, eventually I'll hate you for it. Maybe not today. Maybe not next month. But eventually." Damien stared at her. "So what do you want me to do? Let you walk around unprotected? Wait for the next crew to target you?" "I want you to find a way to end this that doesn't turn me into something I'm not. I want us to figure out how to live instead of just survive." She grabbed his blood-stained shirt. "I love you, but I won't let loving you kill who I am." His phone rang. "Marcus." Damien answered. "Talk. We've got a problem. The Hollow Saints didn't collapse after Wade died. Someone else took control. They're mobilizing. Hard. Every crew they've got is moving into Ashcroft territory right now." Marcus's voice was tight. "This isn't over. It's escalating." "How many?" 100 men, maybe more. Armed convoys moving through the city toward our key locations. They're coming for total war." Damien looked at Celine, saw her watching him, saw her understanding what was about to happen. "Get everyone mobilized," he said into the phone. "Full retaliation protocols. I want every asset activated, every favor called in. Everyone who owes us anything pays now." He paused. "And Marcus? No mercy. Not anymore. Anyone connected to the Hollow Saints, suppliers, distributors, sympathizers, they all burn." He disconnected, turned to Celine. "I have to go," he said. "I know. This is going to get worse before it gets better." "I know that too." "And you're staying?" "Yes." She kissed him, soft, final. "But when this is over, we're going to have a real conversation about what kind of life we're building, because I won't live in fear forever, and neither should you." Damien held her face between his hands. "If I don't come back, you're coming back. If I don't, Vincent has instructions, money, protection, contacts who'll keep you safe." "Damien, promise me. Promise if I die, you'll take the money and disappear. Start over somewhere safe. Forget you ever knew me. Celine's tears came harder. I can't promise that. Promise me anyway. I promise. She kissed him again. Now go end this. Come home to me. Damien pulled away before he changed his mind, armed himself with weapons Vincent brought. Body armor, extra magazines, equipment that turned him from man into weapon. At the door, he looked back one more time. Celine stood in the center of his bedroom, bruised and terrified and absolutely refusing to break. I love you, he said. Then survive, she answered. Damien left without responding. Because surviving wasn't guaranteed, not tonight, not against 100 armed men looking for revenge. But dying wasn't acceptable either, not when she was waiting for him. The elevator descended. His men waited in the lobby. More vehicles outside. The whole night feeling like it was holding its breath before something shattered completely. Marcus met him at the door. Where first? The harbor. That's where their largest operations are. We hit it hard, fast, loud. Send a message nobody misunderstands. What message? The touching Celine veil was the last mistake the Hollow Saints ever made. They climbed into vehicles. Engines roared. The convoy moved through rain-soaked streets toward violence that would drown the city in blood. Behind them, 40 stories above Blackthorn, Celine stood alone in a penthouse that felt like a cage, watching the man she loved drive toward war, wondering if choosing love over safety meant she'd just made the best decision of her life or signed his death warrant. Outside, lightning split the sky, thunder followed, and somewhere in the darkness, someone was making the same calculation she was. How much violence was one person's life worth? How far would love push someone before they broke? And when the breaking came, who would survive the aftermath? The harbor district burned. Flames clawed into the sky from 3 warehouses simultaneously, orange and red against black clouds, smoke billowing thick enough to choke. Damien stood 50 yards back watching his men work. Methodical destruction. Gasoline splashed across wooden pallets and chemical barrels, fires spreading faster than rain could extinguish them. The Hollow Saints' primary distribution center disappearing into ash and heat. Marcus appeared beside him, face lit by flames, expression grim. That's 4 million in product gone, maybe more. They'll feel this. Not enough. Damien's voice was flat, cold. The part of him that felt anything besides rage had shut down the moment he left Celine standing alone in his penthouse. What's next? Their money laundering operation, 3 blocks east. Front company disguised as an import-export business. Marcus checked his phone. Vincent's team is in position, waiting for your call. Damien pulled out his phone, dialed. Go loud. I want bodies and flames visible from downtown. He disconnected, waited. 60 seconds later, gunfire erupted in the distance, rapid bursts, screaming, then an explosion that rattled windows 3 streets over. That's 5 locations in 2 hours, Marcus said quietly. At this rate, we'll have their entire infrastructure dismantled by morning. Morning's too late. Damien turned away from the burning warehouses. I want them erased tonight. Every operation, every safe house, every person who took their money or did their work. Gone. Damien, we're spread thin. Hitting this many targets simultaneously leaves our own territory exposed. Appa? I don't care about territory right now. I care about sending a message so loud it echoes for years. He climbed back into the SUV. They touched Celine. They took Vivian. They walked into my home and made me choose between people I love. That doesn't get answered with strategy. It gets answered with annihilation. Marcus slid into the driver's seat, started the engine. You're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking perfectly clearly. No, you're thinking emotionally. There's a difference. Marcus pulled into traffic, rain streaming across the windshield. You know what happens when you eliminate an entire organization overnight? Someone else moves in, fills the vacuum, usually someone worse. You're not solving the problem, you're creating the next one. Then I'll destroy that one too. Until when? Until you've killed everyone in Blackthorn City? Until Celine's living in a fortress surrounded by bodies? Marcus's voice hardened. She told you she won't live in a cage. This is how you build one. With corpses instead of bars. Damien stared out the window at rain-soaked streets, neon signs reflecting in puddles, the city looking almost beautiful when you ignored the rot underneath. What would you do? I'd find who's really running the Hollow Saints now that Wade's dead. Cut the head off cleanly instead of burning the body one piece at a time. Faster, cleaner, less collateral damage. Marcus took a corner hard. But that requires patience, intelligence gathering, the kind of methodical work that doesn't satisfy rage. You think I'm making this about revenge. I think you're making this about fear. You're terrified of losing her, so you're overcompensating with violence because that's the only language you speak fluently. Marcus glanced at him. But violence won't keep her safe if it turns you into someone she can't love. Damien's phone rang before he could respond. Unknown number. He answered anyway. Damien Ashcroft. The voice was female, young, familiar somehow, though he couldn't place it. You've been busy tonight. 4 warehouses, 1 import business, approximately 37 casualties, impressive body count for 3 hours' work. Who is this? Someone who knows you better than you know yourself. Someone who's been watching you for years, waiting for the exact moment when you'd make a mistake big enough to exploit. The voice shifted slightly, became clearer, more familiar. Someone you trust completely. Damien's blood went cold. Vivian? Laughter on the other end. Not manic, not cruel, just amused. Took you longer than I expected. I thought you'd recognize my voice immediately. Guess I've been playing innocent little sister too convincingly. This isn't funny. It's not a joke. Vivian's voice went flat. All the warmth and youth stripped away, leaving something cold and calculated underneath. The kidnapping tonight? I planned it. The Hollow Saints moving into your territory? My idea. Wade targeting Celine? I told him exactly when and how to do it for maximum psychological impact. Damien couldn't breathe. The SUV suddenly felt too small, too hot, reality tilting sideways. You're lying. Am I? Think about it. Who had access to your security protocols? Who knew your schedule? Who could move through your organization asking questions without raising suspicion? She paused. Who did you trust so completely you never even considered they might be working against you? Marcus had gone pale, knuckles white on the steering wheel. Why? Damien's voice barely worked. Because you killed our father. Silence. Rain hammering the roof. Thunder somewhere distant. He died when you were 7. He died when I was 7 because you murdered him. Vivian's voice shook with barely controlled fury. You were 12 years old. He came home drunk, started beating Mom again. You grabbed his gun, shot him 3 times. Then you told Mom it was self-defense. Told everyone it was the organization that killed him. Built your entire empire on that lie. That's not what happened. Yes, it is. She was screaming now. I was there, Damien. I saw it. You shot him while he was walking away, while his back was turned. Then you looked at me and said, if I ever told anyone, the people who worked for him would kill us both. I was 7 years old and you made me lie about watching you commit murder. He was killing her. He was a drunk and an asshole, but he was our father. You didn't give him a chance to stop. Didn't try intervention or rehab or anything else. You just executed him and spent the next 20 years building a criminal empire on his corpse. Vivian's breathing came ragged through the phone. Mom knew. She spent the rest of her life knowing her son was a murderer. That's why she couldn't look at you near the end. Why her last words were, I'm sorry. Not for dying. For creating you. Damien felt like he was drowning. Every foundation he'd built his life on cracking apart. If you hated me this much, why wait? Why not kill me years ago? Because I needed you to feel it first, to understand what it's like to lose everything you love. Her voice steadied. I waited until you found someone worth more than power. Then I took her from you the same way you took our father from me. Made you watch her suffer. Made you choose between her and me. Broke you apart from the inside. Where is she? The question came out barely above a whisper. Celine. Still in your penthouse where you left her. Safe, protected. Completely unaware her boyfriend's been burning the city down based on threats from his own sister. Vivian laughed. But here's the fun part. While you've been busy destroying the Hollow Saints, I've been positioning my people throughout your organization, your security team, your distribution network, your financial operations, everyone you trust. Half of them work for me now. That's impossible. Is it? You've been so focused on external threats you never looked internal, never questioned why people seemed loyal, never asked if maybe someone was paying them better. She paused. I've spent 12 years building a shadow organization inside yours, waiting for the exact moment when you'd be vulnerable enough to destroy. Marcus was already on his phone, sending emergency messages, activating security protocols. What do you want? Damien asked. I want you to feel what I felt. Helpless. Betrayed. Watching everything you built collapse while the person who destroyed it stands close enough to touch. Vivian's voice went soft, almost sad. I want you to lose Celine. Not through violence. Through choice. I want her to realize what you really are. A murderer who built an empire on lies and blood. Someone who can never be trusted, never loved, never saved. She knows what I am. She knows what you showed her. The tortured man underneath the monster. The wounded boy who never recovered from trauma. She doesn't know about the cold calculation. The manipulations. The way you've orchestrated her entire relationship with you from the beginning. I didn't orchestrate anything. Really? You just happened to be at that bookstore the exact day she wandered in? You think that was coincidence? Vivian laughed. I told you when she'd be there. Set up the encounter, made sure you had your sad backstory ready. Every moment between you has been engineered to make her fall in love with someone who doesn't exist. That's not true. Prove it. Go home right now. Tell her everything. About our father. About the lies. About how your mother died knowing you were a murderer. See if she still looks at you the same way. Silence. Or keep lying. Keep pretending you're someone worth saving. Watch her slowly realize you're not. Either way, you lose. The line went dead. Damien sat there shaking, phone trembling in his hand, reality fragmenting into pieces that wouldn't fit back together. It's bullshit. Marcus's voice cut through the static in his head. She's manipulating you, playing psychological games. Your father died. I killed him. The words felt like broken glass coming up. She's right. I shot him. He was walking away and I shot him in the back 3 times because I was 12 years old and terrified he'd come back. That he'd kill Mom eventually, and it would be my fault for not stopping it when I had the chance. Marcus went silent. Mom told me to say it was self-defense. Coached me through what to tell people. Made Vivian promise never to speak about what really happened. Damien's voice cracked. I thought I was protecting us. Thought the lie was necessary for survival. Never considered Vivian might remember differently. Might blame me. Even if that's true, it doesn't justify, doesn't it? I killed our father, lied about it for 20 years, built an empire on that foundation. Everything I am exists because of that moment. He looked at Marcus. She's not wrong. I am the monster she thinks I am. You were a child protecting your family. I was a child who chose murder over every other option and never looked back. Damien pulled out his phone. Tried calling Vivian again. Disconnected. Tried Vincent. No answer. Tried the penthouse security line. Dead. They've cut communications, Marcus said. Probably jamming frequencies. Standard siege protocol. The penthouse has the best security in the city. Celine's fine. Vivian's playing head games, trying to make you panic and do something stupid. Marcus was already turning the SUV around, heading back toward downtown. We go there, secure Celine, then we figure out what's real and what's manipulation. They drove through rain that had intensified into something biblical, wind howling between buildings, the whole city feeling like it was coming apart. Damien's phone stayed silent. No calls, no messages. The communications blackout spreading across his entire organization. Try your secondary numbers, Marcus said. Damien tried. Nothing. Every line dead or disconnected, every contact unreachable. The network he'd spent 15 years building suddenly vanishing into static. She wasn't lying, he said quietly. About infiltrating the organization. This is too coordinated, too complete. Then we assume everyone's compromised until proven otherwise. Marcus pulled weapons from under his seat. When we get to the penthouse, we trust nobody. Not security, not staff, nobody. They reached Damien's building 15 minutes later. The lobby was empty. No guards, no staff. Just silence and emergency lighting casting everything in red. This is wrong, Marcus muttered. He had his weapon up, scanning corners. Where is everyone? They took the stairs. 40 flights. Damien's legs burned by the 20th floor, but he didn't slow. Marcus kept pace behind him, both of them breathing hard, sweat mixing with rain. The penthouse door was open. Damien's heart stopped. He ran the last distance, weapon up, bursting through the entrance, expecting carnage. Found Celine sitting calmly on the couch. She looked up when he entered, smiled. "Hey, you're back." Relief crashed through him so hard his knees almost gave out. "You're okay." "Yeah, why wouldn't I be?" She stood, noticed his expression. "What's wrong?" "We need to leave. Now. Security's been compromised." "Oh." "Damien." A familiar voice came from the bedroom. Vivian walked out, looking exactly like she had before the kidnapping. Young, innocent, his little sister who studied architecture and had nothing to do with his business. "We need to talk." He raised his gun, aimed at her head. "Don't move." Vivian stopped, hands up, expression sad but not surprised. "You really believe I'm the enemy? I believe you told me you orchestrated everything tonight, that you've been planning this for years, that you blame me for killing our father." His voice stayed steady despite his hands shaking. "So yeah, I believe you're the enemy." That phone call was recorded. Vivian pulled out a device from her pocket slowly. "Voice modulation software. Someone used my voice to make you think I betrayed you, but it wasn't me." "Bullshit." "It's true." Celine crossed toward him. "Damien, she's been here the whole time. We've been talking. She's terrified. Doesn't understand what's happening. Someone's setting her up." Damien looked between them. Vivian's frightened expression, Celine's concerned face, Marcus standing behind him ready to fire. "Prove it," Damien said. "Prove you're not behind this." "How?" Vivian's voice broke. "How do I prove I didn't do something? You've already decided I'm guilty. Nothing I say will change your mind." "Tell me about the night Dad died." Vivian went pale. "I was 7. I barely remember." "You remember. Tell me what you saw." "I saw him hitting Mom. Saw you grab his gun. Saw you shoot him while he was turning away." Tears streamed down her face. "But I also saw the bruises on Mom's face, the broken ribs from 2 weeks before, the way she flinched every time he came home drunk. You saved her life that night. I know that. I've always known that." "Then why did the voice on the phone say you blamed me?" "Because someone wanted you to think I betrayed you." Vivian was sobbing now. "Someone who knows our history, who knows about Dad, who knows exactly what to say to break us apart." Damien lowered his gun slowly. Nothing made sense, every instinct screaming contradiction. His phone rang, different number. He answered on speaker. "Enjoying the family reunion?" Male voice this time. Older, educated, familiar. "I trust you're sufficiently confused by now." "Who is this?" "Someone you should have killed years ago instead of offering mercy." The voice shifted, became clearer. Marcus's voice. "Someone you trusted with your life and your business and your deepest secrets." Damien turned slowly, looked at Marcus standing behind him, gun still raised, expression absolutely neutral. "No," Damien whispered. Marcus smiled, not the familiar expression of friendship and loyalty, something colder. Surprise. He fired 3 times. The first bullet hit Damien's left shoulder. Pain exploded white-hot through his chest. The second hit his right leg. He went down hard, weapon clattering across marble. The third missed as Celine threw herself in front of him, screaming, "No, Marcus, what are you doing?" What I should have done 15 years ago when Damien killed my brother and took over the organization. Marcus kept his gun trained on them. Instead, I waited, played loyal second in command, watched him build an empire on my family's corpse, waited for the exact moment when he'd be vulnerable enough to destroy. "Your brother," Damien gasped through pain, blood spreading across his shirt. "Your brother was Wade, Christopher Wade, my older brother, the man you executed tonight in that warehouse." Marcus's voice went flat. "I watched the video, saw you shoot him in the shoulders, then the head, executed him while he was bleeding out and helpless. He kidnapped Vivian and—" "On my orders. I'm the one who took over the Hollow Saints after Wade died. I'm the one who's been positioning people inside your organization. I'm the one who told that voice modulation expert to use Vivian's voice to break you psychologically." Marcus moved closer. "And I'm the one who's going to watch you bleed out on your own marble floors while the woman you love realizes what you really are. Celine pressed her hands against Damien's shoulder, trying to stop the bleeding. Her hands came away red. Someone call an ambulance. No one's calling anyone. Security's gone. Communications are dead. This building is completely isolated. Marcus crouched down, gun aimed at Damien's head. I spent 15 years earning your trust, becoming your closest friend, learning every weakness, every fear, every pressure point, all so I could be here for this exact moment. Why not just kill me years ago? Damien's vision blurred, shock setting in, blood loss making everything distant. Because you needed to feel it first, to understand what it's like to lose everything. Marcus looked at Celine. He murdered my brother tonight, shot him execution style. You know that? You know the man you love kills people without hesitation when they threaten his empire. I know he's bleeding to death while you stand there gloating. Celine's voice shook with fury. You're the monster, not him. Am I? Ask him about his father, about the lies he told, about the empire built on murder and manipulation. Marcus stood. I'm going to leave you here with a choice, Damien. You can tell her the truth about who you really are, what you've really done, every lie you've told since the night you met. Or you can die keeping secrets and she'll spend the rest of her life mourning someone who never existed. He moved toward the exit, stopped at the door. Vivian's clean, by the way. She really doesn't remember much about your father's death. Really does love you despite everything. I just needed you to doubt her, to doubt everyone, to realize the only person you've ever truly been able to trust is yourself. Marcus smiled. And yourself just failed completely. He left. The door swung shut. Silence, except for rain and Damien's labored breathing. Celine was crying, hands pressed against his wounds, blood soaking through her clothes. Stay with me, please stay with me. Celine, his voice was fading. I need to tell you, save your strength. Help is coming. No one's coming. Damien grabbed her hand, held on despite shaking. Marcus was right. About everything. My father, the lies. The way I've manipulated situations to control outcomes. Blood bubbled on his lips. I'm not who you think I am. You're the man I love. That's who you are. I killed my father when I was 12, shot him in the back. Let everyone think someone else did it. The confession came out barely audible. My mother knew. Vivian might have known. I built everything on that lie. Every relationship, every choice, all of it contaminated by that first murder. Celine kept pressure on his wounds. You were a child protecting your family. I was a child who chose killing over every other option and never stopped choosing it. His vision tunneled, everything going gray except her face. When I met you in that bookstore, part of me knew I should stay away, knew I'd destroy you eventually, but I was too selfish, too lonely. I wanted something good for once, even knowing I'd ruin it. You didn't ruin anything. Look around. Blood spreading across white marble. His empire collapsing, his organization compromised, everyone he trusted betraying him. This is what I bring to people's lives. Destruction, violence, death. He touched her face with a trembling hand. You should have run when I gave you the chance. I don't want to run. I want you to stay alive. Can't always get what you want. His breathing came harder, shallower. Celine, listen. In the desk, envelope, money, contacts. Get out of the city. Start over. Forget. No. She pressed harder on his wounds, trying to force blood to stay inside his body through will alone. You're not dying. I won't let you. Damien smiled despite pain. Not your choice. His eyes closed. Damien? Damien! Celine shook him. No response. Pulse thready under her fingers, breathing barely visible. No, no, no. Wake up. Please wake up. Vivian appeared beside her. When had she gotten there? Everything felt surreal, disconnected. We need to get him to a hospital, Vivian said. She was crying. My phone's still working. I can call. Marcus said communications are dead. He lied. Or he didn't cut everything. I don't know, but I've got signal. Vivian was already dialing. Yes, this is an emergency. Man shot. Multiple gunshot wounds. Losing blood fast. Address is... Celine stopped listening. Focused on Damien's face. Pale. Lips going blue. The man who'd shown her darkness and vulnerability in equal measure now dying on his own floor because someone he trusted had been playing a 15-year game of revenge. "They're coming," Vivian said. "Ambulance is 8 minutes out." 8 minutes felt impossible. Damien didn't have 8 minutes. He maybe had 3. Celine pressed her face against his, whispered in his ear, "You don't get to leave me. Not like this. Not before I tell you that I know everything. About your father, about the lies, about every dark corner you tried hiding from me. And I choose you anyway. Not the sanitized version, not the wounded boy underneath. All of you. Monster and man, killer and protector. Every contradiction." Her tears mixed with his blood. "So you stay alive because I'm not done loving you yet." Damien's eyes flickered, opened slightly, focused on her face with enormous effort. "Can't," he breathed. "Yes, you can. You're Damien fucking Ashcroft. You survived childhood trauma and built an empire and outlasted everyone who tried destroying you. You survived this too." Tired. His voice was barely audible. So tired of fighting. "Then let me fight for you. Just this once. Let someone else carry the weight." She kissed his forehead. "You've spent your whole life protecting people who didn't protect you back. Let me protect you now." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. The ambulance, maybe. Or police. Or more enemies. Didn't matter. All that mattered was the man dying in her arms. "Celine." Damien's hand found hers, gripped weakly. "If I die, you're not dying." "If I die, Marcus wins. He takes the organization. Probably kills Vivian to eliminate loose ends. Goes after you eventually because you know too much." Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. "You have to run. Promise me." "I'm not promising that." "Celine, no. You want me to run, you stay alive and run with me. Otherwise, I stay right here and watch this city burn until someone tells me who killed you." Her voice went hard. "Because if you die, Damien, I stop being the teacher who believes in redemption. I become something else. Something you'd hate. Something Marcus would regret creating." Damien stared at her. "You don't mean that. Try me." The siren stopped outside. Footsteps pounding up stairwells. Voices shouting. Paramedics burst through the door seconds later, equipment in hand, professional urgency taking over. They pushed Celine aside, started working on Damien immediately. IVs, pressure bandages. Rapid assessment that came out in medical terminology she didn't understand. "He's crashing. Blood pressure dropping. Get him stabilized for transport." They lifted him onto a gurney, started rolling toward the door. Celine followed, Vivian beside her, both of them covered in blood that wasn't theirs. One paramedic stopped them at the door. "Family only in the ambulance." "I'm his sister," Vivian said, "and I'm the woman he's dying for." Celine pushed past without waiting for permission. "So we're both coming." They loaded into the ambulance. Damien flat on the gurney, paramedics working frantically, monitors beeping urgently. The doors slammed. They moved, sirens wailing, rain hammering the roof. Celine held Damien's hand the entire way, felt his pulse growing weaker, watched his face go paler, listened to the monitor's rhythm change from urgent to critical. "We're losing him. Push another round of epi. BP's too low. He can't stabilize." The ambulance screeched to a stop outside the hospital. Doors flew open. They pulled the gurney out fast, running toward emergency entrance, Celine and Vivian following until hospital staff stopped them at a set of double doors. "You can't go past here, but we'll do everything we can. Wait in the lobby. Someone will update you." The doors swung shut. Celine stood there shaking, covered in blood, watching the man she loved disappear into rooms where she couldn't follow. Vivian touched her arm gently. "He's strong. He'll survive." "You don't know that." "No, but I know my brother. He survived everything else. He'll survive this too." Vivian paused. "Marcus is still out there. If Damien dies, we're both targets." "I know." "So what do we do?" Celine looked at her hands, Damien's blood drying under her fingernails, on her clothes, everywhere. The physical evidence of violence she'd spent her whole life avoiding. She thought about her students, her quiet life, her belief that stories and kindness could change the world. Then she thought about Marcus walking away, gloating, leaving Damien to die while claiming revenge justified anything. Something cold settled in her chest. something that felt like the moment she stopped being one person and became someone else entirely. "We do what Damien would do," Celine said quietly. "We find Marcus, and we make sure he regrets everything." Vivienne stared at her. "You don't know how to fight this kind of war." "No, but you do." Celine met her eyes. "And I'm a very fast learner." Outside, thunder cracked, rain hammered harder, and somewhere in Blackthorn City, Marcus was celebrating victory. He had no idea what he'd created. The hospital waiting room smelled like disinfectant and fear. Celine sat in a plastic chair stained with someone else's coffee, blood drying on her hands, watching the clock tick past midnight. 3 hours since they'd wheeled Damien through those double doors. 3 hours of silence broken only by intercom announcements and distant machines beeping. Vivienne paced near the windows, phone pressed to her ear, voice low and urgent. "I don't care if he's unavailable. Tell Vincent Reeves that Damien's in surgery and Marcus Chen just tried killing him. Tell him if he wants proof of loyalty, now's the time to choose sides." She listened, nodded. "Good. Get everyone you trust to the hospital, armed, ready. Marcus will come for us the second he realizes Damien might survive." She disconnected, looked at Celine. "Vincent's coming, bringing 12 men he's personally vetted. It's not much, but it's something." "It's not enough." Celine stood, her legs shook but held. Marcus spent 15 years positioning people inside Damien's organization. Vincent bringing 12 men means there's probably 60 we can't trust. "So what do you want to do?" "I want to understand how this works. Your brother's world, the rules, the leverage points." Celine crossed to Vivienne. "You said you know how to fight this kind of war. Teach me." "Celine, you're a literature teacher." "I was a literature teacher. Now I'm someone whose hands are covered in her boyfriend's blood because his best friend decided revenge justified attempted murder." Her voice stayed level, despite rage burning underneath. "I spent my whole life believing people were fundamentally good, that stories and kindness could change hearts. Marcus just taught me that sometimes the only language violent men understand is more violence. So teach me that language." Vivienne stared at her, then nodded slowly. "Okay. First lesson. In Damien's world, power comes from 3 sources: fear, money, and information. Marcus has access to all 3 right now because everyone thinks he's still loyal. We need to break that perception before he consolidates control." "How?" "We expose him. Publicly, in a way that forces people to choose sides." Vivienne pulled out her phone. "Damien keeps recordings. Every meeting, every conversation, insurance against betrayal. They're stored on encrypted servers with access codes only he and I know." "Marcus doesn't have them?" "No. Damien never trusted anyone completely, not even his best friend." Vivienne's fingers moved across the screen. "If we can access those recordings, find evidence of Marcus planning this, we release it across every channel, make it impossible for anyone to claim ignorance." "That won't stop him from coming after us." "No. But it'll fragment his support, make people hesitate, give us enough space to breathe." Vivienne looked up. "Of course, it also paints a target on our backs so bright it's visible from orbit. Everyone will know we're the ones who exposed him. He'll have to respond or look weak." "Good." Celine's voice went cold. "I want him to come after us. I want him close enough to hurt." The double doors swung open. A surgeon walked out, mask pulled down, expression exhausted. Celine's heart stopped. "Family of Damien Ashcroft?" They both stood. Vivienne spoke first. "I'm his sister. How is he?" "Alive. Barely. The shoulder wound nicked the subclavian artery. We managed to repair it, but he lost a significant amount of blood. The leg wound shattered his femur. He'll need multiple surgeries and months of physical therapy." The surgeon paused. "He's stable for now. Critical but stable. Next 48 hours will determine if he survives long term." "Can we see him?" Celine asked. "ICU? 5 minutes. He's sedated and intubated, so he won't be conscious." The surgeon looked at their blood-covered clothes. "There are scrubs in the bathroom. You should change before going up." They found the bathroom. Changed quickly into ill-fitting hospital scrubs that smelled like industrial laundry detergent. Celine washed Damien's blood from her hands, watching it swirl pink down the drain, wondering if she'd ever feel clean again. The ICU was quiet. Machines hummed. Monitors beeped rhythmically. Damien lay in the third bed, tubes and wires connecting him to equipment that kept him breathing, kept his heart beating, kept him hovering between alive and not. Celine approached slowly. He looked smaller than she remembered, vulnerable. The man who'd ruled Blackthorn City through fear and calculation, now reduced to damaged flesh, being held together by surgical skill and stubborn biology. She took his hand carefully. It felt cold. "I'm here. We both are. You're going to survive this because I'm not giving you another option." His monitors stayed steady, no response, just machines breathing for him. "Marcus thinks he won," she continued quietly. "Thinks shooting you was the final move. He doesn't understand you didn't build this empire alone. Vivian and I are still standing, and we're going to make him regret every choice that led to this moment." Vivian touched her shoulder. "We should go. Vincent will be here soon. We need to coordinate before Marcus makes his next move." Celine kissed Damien's forehead. "Don't you dare die. I meant what I said. If you die, I become something you'd hate. So stay alive for both our sakes." They left the ICU, rode the elevator down, emerged into the lobby as Vincent Reeves arrived with 12 armed men looking tense and dangerous. "Where is he?" Vincent demanded. "ICU, stable, alive." Vivian crossed to him. "Marcus shot him 3 times, then walked away bragging about planning this for 15 years. Vincent's expression went absolutely lethal. "Where's Marcus now?" "Unknown. Probably consolidating control, calling in favors, positioning himself to take over completely." Vivian pulled out her phone, showed him the screen. "But we have access to Damien's insurance files, recordings of every conversation, every meeting going back years. If Marcus said anything incriminating in Damien's presence, we have it." "How long to find something usable?" "Hours. Maybe less if we know where to look." Vivian glanced at Celine. "We'll need somewhere secure, somewhere Marcus doesn't control." "I've got a safe house in the warehouse district," Vincent said. "Off the books, not connected to any Ashcroft property. We can work from there." "Then let's go." Celine started toward the exit. "Wait!" Vincent blocked her path. "You're not trained for this. You should stay here, stay visible. Let people think you're just the grieving girlfriend while we handle the tactical work." "No." "Celine, no." Her voice cut like a blade. "Marcus shot the man I love, gloated about it, then walked away expecting me to collapse. I'm not collapsing. I'm not hiding. I'm learning how this world works, and then I'm using that knowledge to destroy him. You can help, or you can get out of my way." Vincent studied her, then nodded slowly. "You've got about 10 seconds before hospital security notices 12 armed men in the lobby. We need to move." They left through a side exit, piled into vehicles that smelled like gun oil and rain, drove through streets that had grown quieter as the night deepened. The warehouse district loomed ahead, industrial decay spreading like infection, the kind of place where violence happened and nobody called police. Vincent's safe house was actually a converted factory floor, third story of a building that looked abandoned from outside. Inside was clean, functional, armed to levels that suggested paranoia or preparation. Computers, weapons, supplies that could sustain a siege. "This is your idea of a safe house?" Celine looked around. "This is my idea of the place to make a stand when everything else fails." Vincent started booting up computers. "Vivian, get those access codes. Pull every recording from the last 6 months. Focus on anything involving Marcus." Vivian sat at a terminal, fingers flying across keys, screens filled with file names, dates, locations. "There's hundreds of hours. Even searching by keyword, this'll take time. Then we prioritize. Most recent conversations first. Look for anything involving Wade, the Hollow Saints, or operational planning Marcus shouldn't have known about." Vincent turned to his men. "I want perimeter security. Overlapping fields of fire. Cameras on all approaches. Someone comes at us, I want warning before they're close enough to matter." The men dispersed. Celine stood near the windows watching rain hammer the district below, city lights reflecting in puddles, the whole world feeling like it was holding its breath. "Found something." Vivian's voice cut through the tension. "Recording from 3 weeks ago. Marcus and Wade meeting at a bar downtown. Audio quality's poor, but it's definitely them. She played it, static and background noise, then voices cutting through. Ready to move when you give the signal. That was Wade's voice. Not yet. Damien needs to be emotionally compromised first. The girl's the key. Once he's attached enough, we target her, split his focus, make him vulnerable. Marcus's voice, unmistakable. My brother deserved better than execution in a warehouse. Damien's going to learn what it feels like to lose everything before I kill him. And after? After, I take control of the Ashcroft Empire, absorb what's left of the Hollow Saints, and build something that makes both our organizations look like amateur hour. Pause. This city's been waiting for someone ruthless enough to unify it. That's me. Always has been. The recording ended. Silence filled the safe house. That's our proof, Vincent said quietly. Marcus admitting to conspiracy, planning Damien's murder, positioning himself for a takeover. We release this, nobody can claim he's innocent. How do we release it? Celine asked. If Marcus controls the organization's communication channels, we don't use Ashcroft channels. We go external. Send it to every news outlet, every competitor, every law enforcement agency that's been trying to build cases against organized crime in this city. Make it so widespread Marcus can't contain it. Vincent was already typing. Once it's out, he'll have to respond. Either publicly deny it and look guilty, or admit it and face consequences. Either way, he's exposed. He'll come after us immediately, Vivian said. Yeah, but by then we'll have enough loyal people questioning his leadership that he can't move openly. He'll have to be subtle, careful. Vincent hit send. Of course, subtle and careful isn't really Marcus's style when he's cornered, so we should probably prepare for him to try burning this building down around us. Celine's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Celine Vale. Marcus's voice. Still calm. Still controlled. I assume by now you've found my recorded conversation with Wade. Probably sent it to every journalist and police contact you could find. Very clever. Very futile. How did you... Because I've been monitoring your communication since you walked into the hospital. I know about Vincent's safe house. I know about the 12 men he brought for protection. I know you're standing near the western windows watching rain like it means something. Pause. Look across the street, third building over, rooftop. Celine looked, saw figures moving in shadows, muzzle flashes. Get down! Vincent screamed. Windows exploded inward, glass and bullets and chaos. Celine hit the floor hard, hands over her head, ears ringing from gunfire. Vincent's men returned fire immediately, systematic bursts that chewed through walls and darkness. They've got us pinned, someone shouted. Northwest corner, second team moving in. How many? 20 plus, all armed. Vincent dragged Celine behind concrete pillars that offered minimal cover. Stay low. Don't move. We'll handle this. How? They've got numbers and position. We've got training and motivation. He fired twice, dropped someone across the street. Also, Marcus made a mistake. He came at us loud instead of quiet. Every crew in this district now knows something big is happening. Word spreads. Questions get asked. He's burning stealth for immediate results. Will that save us? No idea. But it's better than nothing. More windows shattered. Bullets tore through the safe house, ricocheting off concrete, sparking against metal. One of Vincent's men went down screaming, leg shredded. Another grabbed him, dragged him to cover. Vivian was firing methodically from behind a desk, face set in concentration, each shot deliberate. They're advancing. Ground floor breach in 30 seconds. Bull. Fall back to the secondary position. Vincent was moving, still firing, tactical retreat that looked practiced. Celine, with me, now! She ran, stayed low. Followed Vincent through a doorway into a back room stacked with supplies and weapons and what looked like enough ammunition to fight a small war. He sealed the door, heavy metal that would slow anyone trying to follow. How long can we hold? Celine asked. Long enough. Vincent handed her a weapon. Remember what I taught you at the penthouse. Point and shoot. Safety's off. Don't hesitate. I've never killed anyone. You're about to. He positioned her near the door. They come through, you fire center mass until they stop moving. Don't think. Don't hesitate. Just survive. The door buckled, someone hitting it with something heavy. Once. Twice. Metal groaning but holding. Vivian backed into the room, still firing through the doorway. They're right behind me. The door exploded inward. 4 men stormed through. Vincent dropped 2 immediately. Vivian got the 3rd. The 4th made it 3 steps before Celine fired. The gun kicked hard in her hands. The man went down. Blood spreading across the floor. She'd just killed someone. The reality of it hit like physical impact. Nausea rising, hands shaking. No time for shock, Vincent snapped. More coming. He was right. The doorway filled with more bodies, more weapons, more violence pouring in like floodwater. They fired back desperately, managed to hold the choke point through weight of fire and desperation. Then the shooting stopped. Silence except for ringing ears and labored breathing, and someone crying in pain somewhere in the wreckage. "Cease fire!" Marcus's voice echoed from the main room. "Everyone stand down!" Vincent kept his weapon raised. "It's a trap." "Of course it's a trap." Marcus appeared in the doorway, hands empty, expression calm. "But I'm willing to negotiate if you're willing to listen." "We've got nothing to negotiate," Vivian said. "You've got your lives. I'm willing to let you keep them under specific conditions." Marcus stepped over bodies carefully. "That recording you released? Congratulations. It's spreading across every network in the city. My reputation's damaged. People are questioning my legitimacy. You accomplished exactly what you wanted." "Then why are you here?" Celine asked. "Because damaged isn't destroyed. I can recover from this. Spin it as Wade manipulating me. Claim I was playing along to gather intelligence. People believe what they want to believe when the alternative is too complicated." He looked directly at Celine. "But I can't recover if Damien survives. If he wakes up and confirms I shot him, I'm finished. So here's the deal. You help me finish what I started. Let me into the ICU. 5 minutes alone with Damien. I make sure he doesn't wake up. Then we all walk away. You get your lives. I get the empire. Everyone wins except the man who's already dying anyway." "You're insane," Vivian whispered. "I'm practical. Damien's got maybe 48 hours before infection or complications kill him regardless. I'm just accelerating the inevitable." Marcus's voice stayed reasonable. "You refuse, I kill all of you right now. Your choice." Vincent's weapon stayed aimed at Marcus's head. "Even if we wanted a deal, hospital security won't let you near him. Hospital security works for whoever pays best. I've already made arrangements. One phone call and ICU access opens up. All I need is your agreement not to interfere." He looked at Celine. "You love him, I understand, but love doesn't change reality. He's dying. You can die with him or live without him. Choose." Celine's hand tightened on her weapon, every instinct screaming to shoot, to put a bullet through Marcus's calm expression and end this. But Vincent had warned her, "Don't think, don't hesitate, just survive." She'd hesitated. Marcus smiled, reading her struggle. "You're not a killer, Celine, Stakche. That's your weakness and what makes you beautiful. You still believe there are rules, lines that shouldn't be crossed." He started backing toward the exit. "I'll give you 30 minutes to decide. After that, I move on Damien with or without your cooperation. And if you try warning hospital security, I'll burn that building to the ground with everyone inside, including him." He vanished into shadows. His men withdrew. Silence returned except for rain and distant sirens. Celine stood there shaking, weapon trembling in her hands, Marcus's words echoing in her skull. "He's bluffing," Vincent said. "He can't get to Damien. Too many witnesses. Too much exposure." "Can't he?" Vivian pulled out her phone. Marcus spent 15 years building connections, bribing people, creating leverage. If he says he's bought hospital security, he probably has. She started dialing. "I'm calling the hospital, warning them." "He'll know immediately," Celine interrupted. "He's probably monitoring their communications. The second we warn them, he burns the place." "So what do we do?" Vivian demanded. "Let him waltz in and murder Damien in his hospital bed?" "No." Celine's voice steadied. The shaking stopped, something cold and clear settling into place. "We get there first. We move Damien before Marcus can reach him. Hide him somewhere Marcus doesn't control. Move a critical patient. He'll die during transport. He'll die if we leave him there." Celine looked at Vincent. "You know people who can move him safely? Medical staff Marcus hasn't compromised?" "Maybe. It's risky as hell. It ish all. Everything's risky. But at least this way we control the variables instead of reacting to his. She checked her weapon. Still loaded, still ready. We've got 30 minutes. That's enough time to reach the hospital, secure Damien, and disappear before Marcus realizes we're not negotiating. And after we disappear? Vivian asked. We can't hide forever. Marcus will keep hunting until he finds us. Then we stop hiding. Celine's voice went hard. We find him first, and we end this permanently. Vincent stared at her. You understand what that means? No halfway. No hesitation. You go after Marcus, you finish it completely, or you die trying. I understand. You killed one person tonight, in self-defense, under extreme pressure. Going after Marcus deliberately is different. That's premeditated. That's becoming exactly what you've spent your whole life fighting against. I know. Celine met his eyes. But Marcus made his choice when he shot Damien. Now I'm making mine. I'm not the literature teacher anymore. That person died the moment I watched Damien bleed out on white marble while his best friend walked away smiling. What's left is someone who loves him enough to become a monster, if that's what survival requires. Vivian touched her arm gently. My brother wouldn't want this for you. Your brother doesn't get a vote. He's unconscious and dying. I'm making decisions now. Celine started toward the exit. We've wasted 5 minutes talking, 25 left. Let's move. They ran downstairs into vehicles, drove through rain-slicked streets toward the hospital. Vincent made calls along the way, rapid conversations in code, arranging medical transport and security and extraction. I've got a trauma surgeon who owes me, he said. She'll meet us at the hospital. Help us move Damien to a private facility outside the city. It's not ideal, but it's better than leaving him exposed. How long until Marcus realizes we're not negotiating? Selena asked. He'll know the second we touch Damien. Probably has people watching ICU. Vincent took a corner too fast. We'll have maybe 10 minutes to get clear before he responds. After that, all bets are off. They reached the hospital, parked in the emergency bay, ran inside past security that barely looked up. The elevator felt too slow. Celine counted heartbeats. 60, 70, 80. ICU doors, the same nurse from before. You can't. Medical emergency. Vincent flashed credentials that looked official enough to pass. We need to move Damien Ashcroft immediately. Doctor's orders. I haven't received any orders. You're receiving them now. A woman appeared behind them. Late 40s, surgeon scrubs, expression that suggested she'd seen enough violence to stop asking questions. I'm Dr. Sarah Chen. Mr. Ashcroft's being transferred to my facility for specialized care. You have 30 seconds to unhook him from non-essential monitors, or I'll do it myself. The nurse looked overwhelmed. This is highly irregular. So is attempted murder in a penthouse. Dr. Chen was already moving toward Damien's bed. Clock's ticking. They worked fast. Disconnected monitors switched Damien to portable systems. The whole time his vitals stayed steady but weak. Breathing shallow, pulse thready. Moving him was dangerous, but leaving him was fatal. Transport's ready, Vincent said from the doorway. Private ambulance, back entrance. Let's go. They wheeled Damien through corridors that felt endless. Every corner a potential ambush, every shadow hiding threats. Reached the back entrance. The ambulance waited, engine running, side door open. Load him up! Gunfire erupted from across the parking lot. Vincent's men returned fire immediately. Celine threw herself over Damien's gurney, protecting him with her body, bullets sparking off concrete around them. Go, go, go! Vincent screamed. They shoved the gurney into the ambulance. Dr. Chen climbed in, immediately checking vitals. Vivienne jumped in after. Celine started to follow. Then she saw Marcus, standing at the parking lot entrance, weapon raised, aimed directly at the ambulance. Their eyes met. He fired. The bullet took Vincent in the chest. He went down hard. His men dragged him toward cover, returning fire desperately. Celine, get in! Vivian screamed from inside the ambulance. But Celine was staring at Marcus, at the man who'd shot Damien, who'd betrayed 15 years of friendship for revenge, who was now killing anyone who stood between him and finishing what he started. Something snapped inside her. She grabbed Vincent's fallen weapon, turned, aimed at Marcus. He smiled. You won't... She fired. The shot went wide. Hit concrete beside him, but she didn't stop. Fired again. Again. Walking forward through returning gunfire, through bullets that whined past her head, through fear that tried freezing her legs, Marcus dove for cover. "Somebody kill her!" His men opened fire. Celine kept walking, kept firing. The weapon clicked empty. She dropped it, picked up another from a fallen body, kept shooting. "Celine!" Vivian was out of the ambulance, running toward her. "We have to go." "Not until he's dead. He's got 20 men. You've got rage and an empty gun. We leave now or we all die here." Celine wanted to argue, wanted to keep pushing forward until she reached Marcus and put a bullet through his smiling face. But Vivian was right. This wasn't the moment. Not yet. She let Vivian drag her back to the ambulance. They threw themselves inside. The door slammed. Tires screamed as they accelerated away from the hospital, away from the gunfire, away from Marcus standing in the parking lot watching them escape. Inside the ambulance, Dr. Chen worked frantically to restabilize Damien. "His vitals are crashing, blood pressure dropping. I need... Do whatever it takes," Celine said. "He doesn't get to die because we moved him. I'm trying. Try harder." Dr. Chen shot her a look that suggested she didn't respond well to pressure, but her hand stayed steady, professional. Within minutes, Damien's monitors stabilized slightly. Still critical, still dying, but alive for now. "Where are we going?" Vivian asked. "Private facility 20 minutes north," Dr. Chen said. "It's off-grid, secure, used to treat people who can't risk public hospitals. He'll be safe there." "Safe until Marcus finds us," Celine muttered. She looked at Damien, pale, tubes breathing for him. The man who'd survived childhood trauma and gang wars and empire building, now reduced to damaged flesh held together by medical intervention. She took his cold hand. "You're going to wake up, because I'm not done fighting for you. And when you do wake up, Marcus is going to be dead. I promise you that, whatever it costs, whatever I have to become. He dies for what he did to you." The ambulance raced through the night. Rain hammered the roof, and somewhere behind them, Marcus was already planning his next move. This war wasn't over. It was just beginning. The private facility sat 20 miles north of Blackthorn City, hidden among pine trees and hills that rolled away from urban decay like the land itself was trying to escape. It looked like a cabin from outside, rustic, forgettable, the kind of place hikers passed without noticing. Inside was different. Medical equipment that belonged in trauma centers, security systems that would make embassies jealous, a fortress disguised as retreat. Celine hadn't slept in 48 hours. She sat beside Damien's bed watching monitors beep their steady rhythm, watching his chest rise and fall with mechanical precision, watching a man hover between alive and not, while the world outside continued burning. Dr. Chen emerged from a back room, exhaustion lining her face. "His vitals are stabilizing, slowly. The infection risk is still high and the femur fracture will require additional surgery once he's strong enough, but he's fighting. That counts for something." "When will he wake up?" "If he wakes up, it could be days, maybe weeks. Trauma like this doesn't heal on any schedule." She paused near the door. "You should rest. You're no good to him dead on your feet." "I'm fine. You're running on adrenaline and rage. Both have expiration dates." Dr. Chen's voice softened slightly. "I've seen this before. People who love someone hurt so badly they forget to take care of themselves. You think staying awake keeps him alive? It doesn't. It just means when he wakes up, you're too broken to help him recover." Celine wanted to argue. Couldn't find the energy. 5 more minutes. Take 10. I'll monitor him." Dr. Chen moved to check Damien's IV, adjust medication drips, perform the small rituals that kept damaged bodies functioning. "Marcus is still out there. Vincent's in critical condition at another facility. Your friend Maya's been calling every hospital in the city looking for you. The recording you released has news outlets investigating corruption in the police department and City Hall. Everything Damien built is fragmenting while you sit here waiting for him to wake up and fix it." "I'm not waiting for him to fix anything. I'm making sure he survives long enough to see Marcus dead." "And after Marcus is dead? What then? You go back to teaching literature, pretend none of this happened?" Dr. Chen's expression suggested she already knew the answer. "You killed 2 people in that safe house, shot at Marcus in a hospital parking lot, threatened to burn down his world if he touched Damien again. That's not rage talking. That's transformation. You can't undo that. I don't want to undo it. Then you need to decide who you're becoming. Because the woman who walked into the Ashcroft estate a month ago wouldn't recognize the person sitting in this chair. Dr. Chen moved toward the exit. Get some rest. I'll wake you if anything changes. She left. Silence filled the room except for machines and rain tapping against windows. Celine looked at her hands, scars forming on her palms from holding weapons too tight, blood under her fingernails she couldn't scrub away completely, evidence of violence written into her skin. The door opened quietly. Vivian entered carrying coffee that smelled terrible and probably tasted worse. She handed one cup to Celine, kept the other. Any change? Vivian asked. No. Dr. Chen says he's stable, but it could be days before he wakes up. Celine sipped the coffee. It tasted like burnt regret. What's happening in the city? Chaos. The recording fractured Marcus's support. Half the organization thinks he's a traitor. The other half thinks he's being framed. Crews are fighting each other in the streets, trying to claim territory before someone consolidates power. Police are investigating, but they're so tangled in corruption they don't know who to arrest first. Vivian sat in the chair across from Celine. Marcus went underground after the hospital. Nobody's seen him in 2 days. But he's still moving pieces, still issuing orders through intermediaries. He's planning something. Bahore. Let him plan. When he surfaces, we'll be ready. Will we? Vivian's voice was quiet. Celine, we barely escaped that safe house alive. Vincent's in critical condition. Damien's unconscious. We've got maybe 6 people we can trust and an entire city that wants us dead or captured. What exactly are we ready for? War. Real war. Not the calculated moves Damien specialized in. Something messier, more desperate. Celine set down her coffee. Marcus thinks I'm weak because I'm not from this world. He thinks I'll collapse under pressure or make emotional mistakes. He's wrong. I've spent my whole life teaching stories about people pushed past their breaking point. I know how those stories end. The ones who survive aren't the strongest. They're the ones willing to become whatever survival requires. That's not reassuring. It's not meant to be. Celine looked at Damien. Your brother warned me, told me his world was brutal, that people who get close to him die, that loving him would cost everything. I stayed anyway. Now I'm paying the price. So is he. So is everyone connected to us. The only way forward is through Marcus, permanently. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Did anyway because at this point, unknown numbers meant information. Celine Vale. The voice was female, young, scared. You don't know me, but I work for Marcus. Worked for Marcus. He's planning to hit your location tonight. He's got the address. Knows about the medical facility. He's bringing 40 men and orders to kill everyone inside. Celine's blood went cold. Who is this? Someone who's tired of killing for men who see people as chess pieces. Marcus paid me to monitor hospital communications. That's how he knew when you'd moved Damien. But I listened to the recording you released, heard him admit to planning murders, betraying people who trusted him. I didn't sign up for that. The woman's voice shook. He's moving in 4 hours. Sunset. He thinks you'll be exhausted, vulnerable. He's probably right. Why tell me this? Because I've got a daughter, 3 years old. I want her growing up in a world where loyalty means something, where betraying family for revenge gets punished instead of rewarded. Pause. You've got 4 hours. Use them. The line went dead. Vivian was already on her feet. We need to evacuate now. Get Damien somewhere else. No. Celine stood. We stay. We turn this facility into a kill box. When Marcus comes, we're ready. You want to fight 40 men with 6 people and a patient who can't move? I want to end this. Marcus won't stop hunting. Even if we run, he'll find us eventually. Better to control the battlefield. Choose the moment. Make him come to us on our terms. Celine looked at Dr. Chen standing in the doorway, obviously listening. Can Damien survive a firefight in this building? Can he survive being moved again? Probably not. Can he survive bullets tearing through walls around him? Also probably not. Dr. Chen's expression hardened. But I've worked on enough gunshot victims to know how this plays out. You run, Marcus follows. Eventually he corners you somewhere less defensible. At least here we have walls, supplies, and high ground. I'll reinforce Damien's room, barricade the door, keep him as safe as possible while you handle the violence. You're willing to stay during a siege? I'm willing to not let my patient die because his girlfriend's ex-boyfriend wants revenge. Dr. Chen was already moving, pulling supplies. You've got 4 hours. I suggest you spend them preparing instead of debating. Celine looked at Vivian. Call everyone we trust. Tell them we're making a stand. Tell them Marcus dies tonight, or we all do. See who shows up. Vivian pulled out her phone, started dialing. The next 4 hours passed in controlled chaos. People arrived in 2s and 3s, men and women who'd worked for Damien, who'd heard about the betrayal, who chose sides based on loyalty instead of strategy. By sunset, they had 19 people armed and positioned throughout the facility. Not enough to match Marcus's numbers. Maybe enough to make him regret coming. Celine spent the time learning the facility's layout. Every entrance, every sightline, every weakness that could become a fatal flaw. Vincent had designed this place for defense. Narrow corridors that favored defenders, reinforced walls that would stop most ammunition, overlapping fields of fire that made frontal assault suicidal. But 40 men with determination could overwhelm any defense through sheer weight. They'll come at us from multiple directions, Vivian said, studying a makeshift map. Probably hit the front entrance hard to draw our attention while secondary teams breach from the sides and back. Classic hammer and anvil. So we let them think the hammer's working while we collapse the anvil. Celine marked positions on the map. Minimum defense at the front, just enough to sell the deception. Heavy concentration on the flanks. When they commit to the secondary breach, we hit them from positions they don't expect. That's Damien's tactical thinking. How did you... I read his notes. Found them in the penthouse study. 300 pages on urban warfare, defensive strategies, psychological manipulation through battlefield positioning. Celine's voice was flat. I spent 2 days studying how your brother thinks about violence. Turns out it's not that complicated. Just brutally efficient. Vivian stared at her. You've changed. People keep saying that. Because it's true. A month ago you taught poetry to high school dropouts. Now you're planning ambushes that would impress career soldiers. That's not evolution. That's radical transformation. You know what Steinbeck said about survival? Celine checked her weapon, reloaded methodically. He said when survival is at stake, people become capable of actions they never imagined. They hurt others. They betray values. They cross lines they swore were uncrossable, not because they're evil, because context changes everything. She looked at Vivian. I'm not who I was. Maybe I never will be again. But right now, this version of me is what Damien needs, so this is who I am. Sunset came early behind storm clouds that refused to break. Rain continued its steady assault against the facility, wind howling through pine trees, the whole forest feeling like it was holding its breath. Celine stood near a window watching the access road, waiting. Her phone buzzed. Text from the unknown number. They're coming. 2 vehicles front approach, 3 more circling to flanks. Marcus is in the second front vehicle. Good luck. She forwarded the message to everyone's phones. Positions. They're here. People disappeared into prepared locations. Weapons checked. Safety's off. The facility went silent except for rain and distant engines. 2 SUVs appeared on the access road, headlights cutting through gathering dark. They stopped 100 yards out. Doors opened. Men emerged. Armed. Tactical gear. Professional movements that suggested training. Marcus stepped out last. Even from a distance, Celine could see his expression. Calm. Confident. A man who thought he'd already won. He pulled out a megaphone. Celine Vale. I know you're watching. I'm going to give you one chance to end this without more bodies. Send out Damien. I kill him quickly, painlessly. Then everyone else walks away alive. You've got 60 seconds to decide. Celine picked up a radio connected to external speakers. You've got 60 seconds to leave before I kill everyone you brought with you. Your choice. Marcus laughed. The sound echoed across the clearing. You're a literature teacher playing soldier. I've got 40 trained men and unlimited ammunition. This ends with me walking through your corpse to reach Damien. The only question is how many people die first. Then let's find out. She disconnected, gave the signal. The front entrance erupted. 3 defenders opened fire simultaneously, controlled bursts that forced Marcus's men into cover. They returned fire immediately, muzzle flashes lighting the darkening forest. Bullets chewed through the facility's front wall, shattered windows, carved lines in wood and stone. Just as Vivian predicted, secondary teams moved on the flanks. Celine watched them come, waited, let them get close, commit to the breach. Then she gave the second signal. Hidden defenders opened fire from elevated positions, caught the flanking teams in crossfire. Bodies dropped. Screaming cut through gunfire. The teams scattered, tried regrouping, walked into more prepared positions. The ambush worked exactly as planned, for about 90 seconds. Then Marcus adapted. He pulled his front teams back, regrouped, concentrated fire on the positions causing the most damage. Weight of numbers started overwhelming tactical advantage. Defenders went down, positions got overrun. The facility's defense began collapsing under sustained assault. Celine moved through corridors, firing when targets appeared, repositioning constantly, trying to be everywhere simultaneously. Beside her, Vivian fought with cold efficiency, each shot deliberate, no wasted ammunition. "We're losing the east corridor," someone shouted over radio. "Fall back to secondary positions." Celine returned fire at shadows moving through smoke. Funnel them into the center, make them work for every foot. They retreated room by room, fighting, bleeding, buying time with bodies and determination. The facility filled with smoke and cordite smell and the wet copper scent of blood spreading across floors. Celine's weapon clicked empty. She dropped it, grabbed another from a fallen defender, kept fighting. Her ears rang. Her hands shook from recoil and adrenaline. But she didn't stop. Marcus's voice cut through the chaos, amplified by the megaphone. "You're dying for nothing. Damien's already gone. I've got a team in his room right now putting bullets through his unconscious body. This is over." Celine's heart stopped. She ran toward Damien's room, Vivian right behind her, abandoning tactical positions for desperate speed. Reached the door. Found it intact. Barricaded. Dr. Chen on the other side with a weapon. "He's lying!" Dr. Chen shouted. "Nobody's breached this room!" Relief crashed through Celine. Then fury. Marcus was playing psychological games while his men pushed deeper into the facility. "We can't hold them much longer," Vivian panted. "Too many, too organized. They're going to reach this room eventually." "Then we change the game." Celine grabbed radio. "Everyone fall back to Damien's room. Abandon all other positions. We make our stand here." "That's suicide." "That's the only play we have left. We fortify this position. We hold until Marcus comes. Then we finish this face to face." Defenders retreated to the corridor outside Damien's room, barricaded themselves behind furniture and medical equipment, created a final defensive line that wouldn't hold long but might hold long enough. Marcus's men pushed forward, reached the corridor, poured fire into the barricades. Defenders returned fire desperately, bodies on both sides, blood painting walls. The violence compressed into a space too small to contain it. Then Marcus appeared at the corridor entrance, gun raised, expression absolutely calm. "Cease fire!" His voice cut through the chaos. His men stopped shooting. Defenders kept weapons trained but held fire. "This is pointless. You're down to 8 people. I've still got 25. You can't win through attrition." "Then come get us," Celine said. She stood from behind a barricade, weapon aimed at Marcus's head. "You want Damien dead? Walk through me." "I was hoping you'd say that." Marcus smiled. "Because I didn't come here just for him. I came for you, the woman who destroyed my reputation, released those recordings, turned half my organization against me. You think I'd let you walk away after that? I think you're a coward who shoots unconscious men and runs when fights get fair." Celine started walking toward him, slowly, weapon never wavering. "Your brother died because he was stupid enough to kidnap a 19-year-old girl to bait Damien. You're dying because you're stupid enough to think revenge justifies betraying 15 years of friendship. My brother died because Damien Ashcroft is a murderer. So are you, so am I now, so is everyone in this hallway." Her voice rose. "You think you're different because your reasons were noble? Because you waited 15 years before pulling the trigger? Violence is violence regardless of justification. The only difference is you pretended to be something you weren't. Damien never lied about what he was. Damien's a monster. And you created something worse trying to kill him. You created me." Celine stopped 10 feet away. Someone who loved literature and kindness and believed people could change through understanding. You took that person and showed her exactly how naive she was, how survival sometimes requires becoming what you hate, how love isn't always enough to save anyone. She raised her weapon slightly. So thank you for teaching me the only lesson that matters in your world, that monsters aren't born. They're made, and you made one. Marcus's expression flickered, something that might have been regret passing behind his eyes. I didn't want... Yes, you did. You wanted Damien broken, me destroyed. Everyone who stood between you and revenge swept aside. You got what you wanted. Now live with it for the 30 seconds you have left. She fired. The bullet hit Marcus's shoulder. He spun, dropped to one knee, weapon clattering away. His men raised weapons immediately. Defenders opened fire. The corridor exploded into thunder and chaos. Celine walked forward through it all. Bullets whined past her. Someone screamed her name. She didn't care. Focused entirely on Marcus struggling to reach his fallen weapon. She kicked it away, aimed at his head. Wait, Marcus gasped. Please. Did Damien get to say please while you shot him? Did Vincent? Did any of the people who died because you needed revenge more than you needed to be human? I'm sorry. No, you're not. You're just losing. She pressed the gun against his forehead. Any last words? Something profound? Some justification that makes this meaningful? Marcus looked up at her, blood spreading from his shoulder wound, expression crumbling into something like understanding. He was my brother. And Damien was your friend. Celine's finger tightened on the trigger. You chose wrong. Now you pay for it. Celine, don't! Vivian's voice cut through the noise. He's finished. His men are surrendering. You kill him now. You cross a line you can't uncross. I crossed that line days ago. But Celine's hand wavered, the weapon trembling slightly. Marcus saw the hesitation. You're not a killer. Not really. You've acted out of desperation and fear and love, but cold-blooded execution, that's not who you are. You don't know who I am. Yes, I do. You're the woman who taught poetry to people society gave up on, who believed stories could save lives, who looked at Damien Ashcroft and saw someone worth saving despite everything. Marcus's voice softened. Killing me doesn't save him. It just confirms everything he tried protecting you from, that his world destroys everyone it touches, including you. Celine stood there shaking, the gun pressed against Marcus's head, her finger on the trigger, every cell in her body screaming to pull it, to end this, to make him pay for every drop of Damien's blood, every moment of terror, every life destroyed by his revenge. Behind her, someone was calling her name. Might have been Vivian. Might have been Dr. Chen. Didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was this moment, this choice, the exact second where she decided what kind of person she'd become. She lowered the weapon. Marcus exhaled in relief. Celine hit him with the gun instead. Hard. Across the temple. He dropped unconscious. Zip tie him, she said to the nearest defender. We'll let Damien decide what happens when he wakes up. If he wakes up. She walked back toward Damien's room through smoke and bodies and the wreckage of her former self. Vivian met her halfway, grabbed her shoulders. Are you okay? No, but I'm alive, so is Damien. That's enough for now. They returned to Damien's room. Dr. Chen was checking his vitals, adjusting equipment knocked loose during the firefight. The monitors beeped their steady rhythm, still critical, still fighting. Celine collapsed into the chair beside his bed. Exhaustion crashed through her like physical impact. She took his hand carefully, pressed it against her face. It's over, she whispered. Marcus is captured. His men are surrendering. You're safe. We're safe. You can wake up now. No response. Just machines breathing for him. Please wake up. I need you to wake up because I don't know what I am anymore. I killed people, planned ambushes, became something you warned me about, and I need you to tell me it was worth it, that saving you justified everything I did, that I'm not just another monster your world created. His hand twitched. Celine's breath caught. Damien? His eyes flickered, opened slightly, unfocused but aware. His breathing tube prevented speech, but she could see recognition in his expression. Questions, confusion, then something that might have been relief. Dr. Chen appeared immediately. Don't try to talk. You've been intubated for 4 days. We're going to remove the tube, but it'll take time. Just stay calm. She worked quickly, efficiently, removed the tube with practiced care, Damien coughed hard, gasping, his body remembering how to breathe on its own. Water, he rasped finally. Celine held a cup to his lips. He drank slowly, grimacing at the pain even that small movement caused. How long? He asked. 4 days since Marcus shot you. 2 days since we moved you here. 6 hours since we fought off 40 men trying to kill you. Celine's voice shook. You died twice during transport. Dr. Chen brought you back both times. You've got a long recovery ahead, but you're alive. Damien looked at her, really looked, saw the exhaustion, the blood on her clothes, the transformation written across her face. What did you do? Everything necessary. Everything you would have done. She pressed her forehead against his hand. I became someone I don't recognize to keep you breathing. I don't know if that makes me strong or broken. Both. His voice was barely audible. It's always both. Marcus is in custody. His organization's collapsing. The city's a war zone. Your empire's fragmenting while you've been unconscious. She looked up at him. I don't know how to fix any of it. You don't have to. Damien's hand touched her face weakly. The empire doesn't matter. Territory doesn't matter. All of it can burn as long as you're here. You don't mean that. Yes, I do. His eyes closed from exhaustion. I spent 15 years building something that almost destroyed us both. Time to build something different, something smaller, something that doesn't require becoming monsters to survive. What does that look like? I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out. He squeezed her hand. Together, if you still want that after everything. Celine kissed his forehead gently. I want that. I want you. Even after everything. Especially after everything. She pulled back slightly. But we need to talk about who I became while you were dying. About the choices I made. The lines I crossed. I'm not the same person you met in that bookstore. Good. She was beautiful but naive. This version survived a war. His breathing steadied slightly. Tell me later, after I'm strong enough to argue. Right now, just stay. I'm not going anywhere. He fell asleep moments later. Natural sleep this time. Healing sleep. The kind that suggested recovery instead of dying slowly. Vivienne appeared in the doorway. Marcus is secured. His remaining men are gone. Police are on their way because apparently someone called in shots fired at a medical facility. Let them come. We'll deal with it. Celine stood slowly, every muscle screaming protest. What happens to Marcus? That's Damien's call when he's recovered enough to make it. Vivienne paused. You could have killed him. Nobody would have blamed you. I know. But killing him wouldn't have brought back the person I was before all this. It would have just pushed me further from her. Celine looked at her hands, still shaking slightly. Maybe that person's gone anyway. Maybe you can't survive what we survived and stay the same, but I had to try preserving something. You preserved more than you think. Vivienne touched her shoulder. You preserved Damien. That counts for everything. 3 weeks passed before Damien could walk without assistance. 6 weeks before his strength returned enough to handle business. 2 months before the city stabilized into new patterns. Marcus faced trial for attempted murder, conspiracy, and a dozen other charges the district attorney compiled from the recordings and witness testimony. He pled guilty to everything, asked for no deals, accepted a life sentence without possibility of parole. The last thing he said before sentencing was that he hoped Damien and Celine found the peace he'd destroyed through revenge. Vincent survived his injuries, returned to work protecting what remained of the Ashcroft organization, which had shrunk considerably during Damien's recovery. Smaller, tighter, more focused on legitimate business than criminal empire. The Hollow Saints dissolved completely, their territory absorbed by other organizations or abandoned entirely. The power vacuum created chaos for months before equilibrium returned. Maya forgave Celine eventually, after tears and anger and long conversations about choices made under impossible pressure. Their friendship wasn't the same, couldn't be, but it survived in altered form. Celine never returned to teaching. The Arts Center understood, gave her position to someone who still believed stories could save lives. She wasn't sure she believed that anymore. Or maybe she believed it differently. That stories could save lives, but surviving sometimes required becoming someone else's story. Someone darker. More complicated. Damien proposed 3 months after the shooting. Not in a greenhouse surrounded by roses and romance, in the converted factory where he'd first showed her who he really was. Raw, honest, standing on legs that still hurt from bullets and physical therapy. I don't have the empire anymore, he said. Most of the money's gone. The reputation's destroyed. What I've got left is a couple legitimate businesses, a warehouse I'm converting into something useful, and a lifetime of trauma neither of us knows how to process. He held out a simple ring. But if you'll have me, I'll spend every day proving you weren't wrong about seeing something worth saving underneath all the blood. Celine said yes, not because she'd forgotten who he was, because she'd finally understood completely. Monster and man existing simultaneously, capable of extraordinary violence and extraordinary love, just like her now. They married quietly. No guests beyond Vivian, Vincent, Maya, and Dr. Chen, who'd kept Damien alive through impossible odds. The ceremony was short. The vows were honest instead of poetic. I can't promise easy, Damien said. Can't promise safe. Can't even promise the nightmares stop. But I can promise I'll never lie about what I am. Never hide the darkness. Never expect you to be anything except who you choose to be. I can't promise I'm done changing, Celine answered. Can't promise I'll ever be the person I was before. Can't promise loving you won't cost us both everything eventually. But I can promise I choose you fully, monster and man, violence and vulnerability, all the contradictions that make you human. They kissed in candlelight and silence. Two people who'd survived war transformed into something neither expected. Not better, not worse, just different. Permanently altered by choices made under pressure that shattered comfortable beliefs about morality and survival. The warehouse Damien was converting became a community space. Part bookstore, part art center, part refuge for people who needed somewhere safe from the violence still consuming parts of Blackthorn City. Celine ran it. Not teaching anymore. Just creating space for stories to exist. For people to discover narratives that made sense of trauma. Damien worked his legitimate businesses. Consulting. Security. Helping people who needed protection navigate a world that remained dangerous despite his attempt at reform. He still carried weapons. Still knew how to hurt people who threatened what he loved. But he chose differently when choices were possible. They built a life in the margins. Not the penthouse overlooking the city, not the estate filled with dangerous money and political connections. A third-floor apartment above the warehouse, filled with books and music and windows that let in light. Small, contained, human-scaled. The nightmares came frequently at first. Damien waking gasping from dreams where Celine died in his arms. Celine jerking awake, seeing Marcus's blood spreading across concrete. They learned to hold each other through it, to acknowledge the trauma without letting it consume them. Do you regret it? Damien asked one night, both of them tangled together after nightmares woke them simultaneously. Everything you gave up, who you were before, the quiet life teaching literature. Celine thought about it. I regret that it was necessary, that loving you required becoming someone capable of violence. But I don't regret choosing you, even knowing the cost, even understanding we'll never fully recover from what happened. That's not very reassuring. It's not meant to be, it's just honest. She touched his face in darkness. You showed me something most people never learn, that survival sometimes requires transformation, that becoming someone else doesn't mean losing yourself. It means expanding to contain contradictions, light and dark, kindness and violence. Love and the willingness to destroy anything that threatens it. That's a heavy philosophy for 3 a.m. You started it by asking heavy questions. She kissed him softly. Go back to sleep. Tomorrow we've got a shipment of used books to sort, and you've got a meeting with the contractor about reinforcing the warehouse's 2nd floor. Very mundane, very boring, exactly what we both need. They slept. Woke to sunlight instead of gunfire. Made coffee that tasted like normal life. Spent the day doing work that didn't require weapons or violence or choosing between impossible options. That night, standing in the warehouse surrounded by books that waited for readers who needed them, Celine found a worn copy of Steinbeck she'd taught from years ago, opened it randomly, found a passage she'd underlined in a different lifetime. And now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good. She read it twice, closed the book, looked around at the space they'd built from the wreckage of Damien's empire and her innocence. It wasn't perfect. Neither were they. Both carried scars. Both had blood on their hands that would never fully wash away. Both had become people their younger selves wouldn't recognize. But they were good. In complicated, messy, imperfect ways that suggested maybe survival wasn't about staying the same. Maybe it was about transforming into something that could live with necessary choices. Love despite understanding cost. Build despite knowing everything eventually broke. Damien appeared in the doorway, leaning on a cane he'd need for another few months, scars visible on his neck where bullets had torn through, expression tired but real, human in ways he hadn't been before violence stripped away his armor. "You coming upstairs?" he asked. "Or you planning to read all night?" "Coming." She set the Steinbeck back on its shelf. Someone else would find it. Someone else would underline passages that made sense of their own transformation. Stories surviving to serve new readers facing different wars. They climbed stairs together. His hand found hers, held on like she was the only thing keeping him grounded. Maybe she was. Maybe they both were to each other. Two people who'd survived something that should have destroyed them, who'd made impossible choices, who'd become monsters and lovers simultaneously. At the top of the stairs, Celine looked back once at the warehouse below, at the space filled with books and hope, and the possibility that even after everything, stories still mattered. That transformation wasn't ending, that surviving sometimes meant becoming someone new. "You okay?" Damien asked. "Yeah." She turned back to him, to the man she'd chosen despite knowing exactly what that choice would cost. "I'm okay. We're okay, that's enough." They went inside, closed the door against the night and the city and the ghosts of who they'd been before. Outside, rain started falling, soft, steady, washing streets that would never be completely clean, but maybe could be clean enough. Inside, two people who'd survived war tried building peace, not the absence of violence, the presence of choice, the freedom to wake up every morning and decide again to love despite scars, to be good despite being imperfect, to live despite understanding that sometimes survival required becoming someone else entirely. And in a city built on violence and power and the ruins of countless empires, that was the only victory that mattered. Not conquering, not controlling, just surviving, together, human, flawed, real. The rain continued falling, the city continued breathing. And somewhere between monster and lover, violence and peace, destruction and healing, Celine and Damien found something that looked like home. Not perfect, but good enough. Which in their world, in this life, was everything.